Hey, I got the little twirl going there. Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Truthwire, aka formerly known as
The Combo Couch.
yes, and actually, me and Fiorella are back together for this election special. We want to thank you all who followed us yesterday. Close to 12 hours of actual streaming, fam, and then we also did a WBAI spot at 2 a.m. in the morning on the East Coast, and we got to talk about the Trump incarnation, right? Right when he was getting the crown put upon his head. And there's a lot of things to discuss moving forward. So we're going to just jump right into it. Fam, do you want to say anything about why we chose Truthwire and what we're doing there real quick, or should we save that to the end?
Well, we can save that to the end since we have
Sure.
our guest waiting. But we're going to start off by discussing the Trump, what many say is a win and a victory. But of course, we're looking at it from a different perspective. We look at it as a selection. And this was a long time coming, and we can talk a little bit more about that again to get people to understand what we mean. But it is also a punishment to the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Yes, Trump was allowed to have his victory this time, but people are clearly done with the Democratic Party. People are clearly upset with the Democratic Party, and that is not to be taken lightly. The way that people voted against the Democrats really signals, I think, something that also needs to be touched upon. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in Niko House, our longtime family, our longtime fam.
Yeah.
What's up, Niko? All the way from Brazil over there.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm Brazilian now. I don't play anymore.
Okay, you Niko, before I'm so sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I've been dying I've been waiting. I've been, wincing.
Okay, so let's get started. Go ahead, man. Go ahead, ask whatever wild question about that.
Let's clear the air. I think it's time to admit that you were wrong. You supported the Kamala Harris of rap, and that being Drake. And I think we can just obviously say right now.
Hold on, what?
At the end of the day, hold on. At the end of the day, Kendrick Lamar, he was victorious, right? He's the one who was had his arm raised. He is now the champion. He won the battle. Like Kamala Harris, Drake, maybe it's time for him to go away. But Kendrick got the Super Bowl. But I just think it's time for you to admit that you chose the wrong pony. Your thoughts?
Oh, no. You mean like Kamala Harris, Kendrick Lamar had to use other people to get famous, and then he threw them under the bus whenever he got there? Because that's what happened.
I just don't understand how anybody uses Drake.
And Drake was also beefing with 20 people because Kendrick Lamar couldn't beef by himself because he actually doesn't have the clout to beef by himself. He has to get help, like Kamala Harris. Which is even why, after all that drama, he was still second. His song that was so famous still fell second on Spotify to Family Matters, which was a Drake diss against Kendrick and all his little buddies. And yet that song was the most popular song he ever did. And it was because he was talking about Drake.
You sound like Joy Reid, who doesn't want to let go. But let's go talk today, because they're the mainstream media. We are the Truthwire and Niko House, and they not like us.
For the people.
They not like us. I had to throw that in there. Boom, boom. Listen, Niko, let's talk about this because there's a lot of things that happened yesterday. I mean, a lot of people are looking at it as, it's time to get back. Vivek, I think he made a tweet. It's time to save America or save a country again. Some people were very sarcastic about it. Dave Smith made a tweet that said, is democracy dead yet? Right? We were told, right? And I think that, we have a clip from David Icke that we'll play later on, which is just of CNN, and one of the reporters, one of the commentators, or whatever you want to call them, one of the propagandists, but really like laying out in line that it was a mandate yesterday, that the Democratic Party really never stood for anything. They demonized half the country. A lot of these people, whether they be right or wrong, and a lot of times I think they're wrong on a lot of issues, and they don't look down the rabbit hole or look deeper into things, but they really are just, everyday, hard, average working people. Do they have blind spots? Absolutely. Are a lot of them xenophobic? Absolutely. But that's because they are that way, because we were kept in this kind of two-party paradigm, and the mainstream media on both sides. I'm not going to say that Republicans, even Donald Trump in a speech said, we're going to start with the border. Of course, like that's the biggest issue. Here we go again. No data, no nothing. But this was a mandate yesterday of sorts, and I just want to get your thoughts on what's going on. I know there's a lot of true leftists today that are not so much happy that Donald Trump won, but they're very happy that Kamala Harris lost. Your thoughts?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm definitely happy Kamala lost, right? Because like you said, it wasn't really about Trump winning as much as it is like the consequences of a Kamala Harris victory. If she would have won, it would have been an endorsement of genocide. It would have been rewarding genocide. It would have been rewarding gaslighting of the highest degree. It would have been disastrous for democracy and inexplicable to some degree that the most unpopular vice president in history somehow managed to defeat with little to no time to really run a genuine campaign, because we know she came at the last minute. If she would have been able to defeat Trump, who is the most popular incumbent in the history of the presidency, like it would have been like, I already don't have faith in our elections. Everybody knows that. But it would have been scary to me if that would have been able to have been pulled off, because I'm like, there would be no going back. There's no hope for the country. Because if Trump can't beat somebody as bad as Kamala, because that's how bad our election systems have gotten, and despite everything that people know about her, despite her record, despite his level of popularity, like that would be scary as hell. But like you said, it wasn't just really about Trump and Kamala, even though everybody keeps making all these excuses about her race playing a part, her being a woman being a factor. People are sexist. Hispanic men and black men and Arab are getting blamed all around the board. Well, first of all, like maybe that makes sense. The groups that you screwed over during your presidency are now screwing you back over. That kind of makes sense that would be the cause of your demise. But the reality is, so what's the excuse for them losing the Senate? What's the excuse for the Republicans adding another a member to the House, increasing their numbers there? What's the excuse for all of the Republican governors that were running for re-election winning handedly? Like not a little bit. They whooped the Democrats' ass. What's the excuse for all the progressive ballot measures that got passed around the country while Republicans were still winning and maintaining office? How does that make any sense? That's a rebuke of the Democratic Party. That wasn't just about Kamala. That wasn't about her race. It might have a little bit to do with her race, or the lack thereof. But it wasn't just about her race. It wasn't about her ethnicity. It wasn't about her being a woman. It was about how the Democratic Party has conducted themselves, maybe even not over just the last 4 years, but over the last, 8 to 12 years.
Yeah. It definitely goes back, yes.
Yeah, well, I just want to pose something to you. Do you think that perhaps, though, a Kamala loss now is going to get the entirety of this liberal contingent to refocus on Trump? Because we've been here before with the Trump presidency. We've had a taste of what Trump is and what Trump does. And what that did is create the necessity to have this boogeyman of Donald Trump. And now with Trump in the White House, all of these people are just going to focus on him. And then his supporters are going to say that everything is great now, that Trump's going to achieve everything he has said. So in a way, you're right. Like it would have destroyed a Kamala Harris victory, would have destroyed any semblance and any credibility. But we know that our elections are not fair. We know that our elections are invalid. So this kind of reinstates faith in the system. Do we really need to reinstate faith in a system that we know is corrupted to the core? That is my worry with this, the way this is going. It's almost like now all of the questioning, because remember, Trump questioned the elections in 2020, and so did many people. And all of that goes out the window now with his victory. And he ran his most establishment campaign, a smart PR campaign with the garbage truck and the McDonald's and all of that. But genius, yeah. But still, like he's definitely shifted how he's run his campaign from 2016.
Yeah, you could tell Steve Bannon was not an integral part of that campaign as he was in 2016. I think that you're right to some degree. There, for at least a portion of the country, it will re-legitimize the system in their eyes to some degree. I do think that there's still questions. I do think that they still have problems with the system, and I do believe that it is going to take the next 4 years of Trump constantly messing up in the same way that he messed up the first time around for them to realize, oh man, maybe our guy isn't who we thought he was either, because we use all these excuses. He was trying to get reelected. He couldn't buck the system without hurting his chance of getting reelected. They blame the pandemic, et cetera, right? But this 4 years, you don't have that excuse. He doesn't have a reelection hanging over his head. He has more political experience of the people that he put in his cabinet. That was an autonomous choice that you have made with experience. Now, you can't use the excuse that you didn't know better. That's why you selected John Bolton, because he selected Mike Pompeo. He knows exactly who the hell Mike Pompeo is, right? So there is that reality. But I've always said that it's going to take Trump screwing them over, like liberals got screwed over by Biden and Kamala, and progressives got screwed over by Bernie and Tulsi, for them to finally get on board and understand why we need to unite against the duopoly. But there's also the reality that the system did not, I believe that these elections ended up turning out the way they did because the Democrats are now on a unified front. In order to cheat at that scale, you have to be unified. There is a lot of coordination, which you all know, that goes into that type of cheating. So you have to have your boogeyman, which would have been Trump in this particular case, but then you have to have unity. The Democrats only unify behind powers. They only unite behind power. Biden had that power. Hillary Clinton had that power. David Wasserman Schultz, for example, has that type of power. However, Kamala is not a power broker. She's standing in the way of Democrats who see themselves as the next leader of the party. So while there are a lot of the old heads that try to unite behind Kamala because they understood the implications of it for the party overall, there are a lot of the young up and coming Democrats who may even have paid lip service on Twitter. They may have made a little video, but in reality, operationally speaking, they're like, why does she deserve to be the president? Why can't it be me? So when you don't have a unified front, it is very, very difficult to rig elections at that scale against a candidate that's so popular, and obviously for a candidate that is so incredibly unpopular.
Yeah.
Well, the argument can be made that they chose Kamala because they wanted to lose. The only way to save their party would be to lose, and then you can fundraise like crazy off the TDS. Well, what's left of the TDS?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna tell you why that logic follows until you ask, okay, then who's next?
They don't have anyone.
They don't have anybody. So that logic, I used to think, I'm like, oh, maybe they're trying to lose. Then I'm like, well, hold on.
Who's next?
Who's
next in the Democratic Party?
Yeah, who's next?
Oh, it's 1,000% Gavin Newsom.
That's not a winning.
He's kind of moving towards the middle now, a little bit on a lot of things. I mean,
but that's not a winner. And also, so here, that's not a winner. And also, he's standing in the way of other people who think they should be the next up. There's a power vacuum is what I'm trying to say, basically. So when I say who's next, I mean, whenever we all kind of knew that Biden was going to enter the race in 2020 before he even announced, because we knew that's the only option they have left. Hillary's not going to run again. Barack obviously can't run again. So it would be Michelle, which she said she made it clear she wasn't going to run. And Biden, because he's the last power broker who hasn't served as the president, who can actually control the party to some degree. They will coalesce behind him against Bernie. Like that, I don't remember which representative said it, but he was like, yeah, Biden didn't run to beat Trump. He ran to beat Bernie, right? So I think that there's a power vacuum that caused a huge schism within the Democratic Party. And even though maybe verbally in public, they looked united because that was the goal, the reality is Kamala was selected to be the presidential nominee. She wasn't elected, and they know it, right? And even though they were promised an electoral process and a selection process that they were all going to be involved in, that's not what happened, really. Yeah. She was selected. She was selected for VP because she was a Black woman. Which is crazy to me.
Oh no, we lost Niko. Niko, we lost you. Hop right in when you get a chance. I want to say something regarding Niko's hypothesis. I think we got him right back in there. If you want to pull him up, there we go.
I'm back. I don't know what that was. That was weird. But yeah, she was selected. That's my point. She's selected. They knew that. And I think a lot of Democrats are more pissed, and we're more pissed about it than they made public.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
You were saying something. Go ahead.
No. I agree with that. I think Democrats were definitely weak and completely divided. But I also think that the hypothesis of being allowed to lose, or wanting her to lose to that degree, is also a plausible one, because if you think about it, they could have done something that seemed remotely democratic. The way they selected Kamala, knowing she couldn't win a delegate from her own state. I mean, she was already hugely unpopular in 2020. I know you remember when Tulsi exposed her. And so to me, for them to put up a candidate that was already hugely unpopular, perhaps more unpopular than Hillary Clinton herself, who lost to Donald Trump, seems to me that they really weren't trying that hard. And to me, what we saw in the last few months leading up to this election, not just from the mainstream media, because the mainstream media was also turning from Kamala, was also criticizing her like blatantly, like never before. In fact, a few days before the election, we saw CNN talk about Kamala's two positions, one on Gaza in front of in Michigan, and another one where she states that she's in favor of Israel. And that I hadn't seen be highlighted by mainstream media before. And then you had Joe Biden wear his Trump hat. And it was almost like there was that, I swear, that hatred towards her. Like,
Biden, he was pissed. He was pissed. See, Kamala must not know. Biden got a history of firing prosecutors that piss him off. She must not know. See, that's her problem. She's not really good on foreign policy. If she was good on foreign policy, she would have known how he handles prosecutors, because that's what he did in Ukraine.
Listen, there's something I want to talk about, because I remember a tweet you did a long time ago. Jayme, you got us both side to side, buddy? Thank you. Something I want to talk about. I remember you making a tweet a long time ago. We all talked about this when Obama got elected. Everyone went back to sleep, where they went out to brunch, right? I think it was David Dole who went to brunch with the Biden thing, and he made that tweet. Wow. I've already had brunch, like after he got elected. Like, okay, there's an argument now, and I've asked
hey, I'm frozen. Okay,
no, it wasn't you, it was them.
You're
good. You're good. Pasta and FIFA.
Pasta over there on that McDonald's internet, that McDonald's Wi-Fi.
I wish I was knew where I wish I could pick up where he left off.
What was he asking me?
Here we are.
Here we go.
Okay, so here's the thing. So we're talking about people going back to brunch. The anti-war movement went to brunch when Barack Obama won. For us, and I asked Kelly Lane yesterday, who was on the show, election integrity activist, and this is a show today where the guy who endorsed and pretty much circumvented the Jared Beck case with Elizabeth Beck, the Bernie Sanders case, Niko House, and us as election integrity activists who gone to Latin America and witnessed election. I mean, this is an election. This is something that's really important to us. It's not the only thing we do, but it's a big part of what we do. And I asked that question: what happens if Donald Trump wins the election? Do they go back to sleep on election integrity? I think they do. And that's a big thing right now, because people were mostly involved in election integrity on the conservative side because of Donald Trump. Yep. He wins now. Let's just not talk about this anymore. Let's not shake it down. There are other ways to talk about things. I think in certain areas, they're going to blame immigrants, like Kerry Lake losing, because they want to get people on the grid. That's what about Donald Trump choosing J.D. Vance is all about. And I do believe that. And they're going to use the immigrant scare to do so. And Kerry Lake shouldn't have lost. Once again, she's losing right now. So I think they're going to use that. But that area of election integrity is dead, I think, right? And this is just a theory. Another area that's dead, the funeral we're witnessing, is the third-party funeral. Yeah. I mean, they just, in an area where they fell on their ass right here, when they had two unpopular candidates running against each other, right? Like, Donald Trump was very popular with his own base.
I don't think they fell on their ass, though. I think that's why it's a funeral, because Jill Stein probably ran she had like a couple of missteps, but she probably ran one of her best campaigns. But the reason why it's a funeral, and the reason why your first point is valid, is because Trump won, and they saw the numbers from the Green Party, and they know how many people did vote for Trump. Nobody's talking about the fact that she was removed off Ohio's ballot at the last minute using a fugazi rule that actually should have barred Kamala from being on the ballot by their logic. The rule was, and they talked about this in September, the rule was because they didn't declare a nominee by August 12th, that she couldn't be on the ballot, that she would be disqualified. They didn't have their convention until August 17th, but the Democrats didn't have their convention until August 19th. They didn't have because of all the crazy stuff that happened, they were late on declaring literally a presidential candidate, let alone a vice presidential candidate.
The Green Party,
paying attention to that.
Yeah. The Green Party. But I mean, Niko, it's a very unpopular, I don't mean to interrupt you, but these are very unpopular candidates. Jill Stein and the Green Party have no populist message whatsoever. And Chase Oliver is hated by half the party, the Libertarian Party. I mean, these were probably some of the most unpopular third-party candidates in one.
But she did make a break in with the Muslim community.
Jayme, you got the thing? Sorry.
To a degree, right? Jill Stein did have
she had 21% of the votes and didn't
from Muslims and than Kamala did in some. So is it because the Green Party is completely unfairly treated like any other third party? Same with the Libertarians, same with the PSL and all of that, or is it because they haven't done what they need to do? I think it's a little bit of both, because if we're talking about voting third party, which I'm all for, we need to talk about the elections themselves, because if you keep saying, well, we're just going to overwhelm them, but you can't, because the machine is far too big. So if I commend people for voting third party or voting their conscience, whatever that is, but at the same time it is a waste if we don't find the mechanisms to actually change that outcome, because people still see it as like, oh, you're being an idealist and etc.
Yeah. So with Chase Oliver, like his party didn't like him from the onset. I don't know what that was about. I don't know.
I can tell you everything about that. We can get that's.
Oh, you were there, right? You were there. Yeah, that's
I went to the Libertarian Convention, but I'm only going to say this much: it was a fair process. It was what I would want to elect a candidate. And like I said to Clinton Russell on my show yesterday, it's almost like you sabotage this guy, and he won fair and square. But that's another whole story, man.
That's wild. But as far as Jill is concerned, I wouldn't say she didn't have a populist message at all, because she still had her anti-war message, which I consider to be a populist message. She was advocating for workers' rights. She got a lot of fundraising, which was kind of like, especially because she started later, but for her to still manage to be successful in that regard, increase party registration, and take advantage of some of the affairs of the Democratic Party, I think like it just proved what Fee said. Like there's a glitch in the matrix. There's a big problem in the system. Because the funding that she was receiving, for example, had to go towards lawsuits that should have never been filed, because the Democrats were trying to take her off ballots illegitimately, because they knew if they drained her funds, it didn't matter if they won the lawsuit, she wouldn't be able to campaign effectively. The federal government was withholding funds. They basically stole the money that she had already earned from the federal government. They were supposed to match funds and they were just keeping it. Didn't give her a reason, right? Not to mention everything Jill Stein personally went through over the last 4 years. During the years of the Trump presidency, actually, whenever she was being investigated by the Senate Intelligence Committee over ties to Russia, right? Which actually she had to use her campaign funding to drain, and it drained her. It drained the Green Party's funding, and she couldn't run in 2020 because of that. Because the reason that she ran this particular time after Cornel West dropped out was actually because of the thing that he was talking about, which is effectiveness. They would have lost a shitload of ballot slates if she didn't run, and they didn't do anything. So she came in not even wanting to run this time, but she had to, because she understood like we can't lose all the momentum that we are, the little bit of momentum that we have. So there is a matter of like, obviously it's a functionality issue, has to be to some degree, but the other side of it is, the system is made so that Green Party, Libertarian Party, whoever, it's always harder for them to participate in democracy, which makes it's not impossible, because you see local elections. I think the Green Party had somebody from New York that's in the state legislature there. Yeah. So it's not impossible. But when we're talking about federal government level, presidential, even U.S. Congress, things like that, outside of switching parties like last minute, which is like not going to happen for the most part, it is impossible. And you can't We can't pretend like that's a big problem. Like, I don't understand how we don't talk about that enough. People always say, well, it's a wasted vote. So let's unpack that. Why is it a wasted vote? Because they don't have a path to victory. Why don't they have a path to victory? Because they're not on every ballot. Why the fuck not?
Yeah. Ballot access is a form of election fraud. Ballot access is a form of election fraud. Absolutely. Yeah.
It is a form of election fraud. That is exactly the case. And everybody's okay with it. That is the biggest problem. And they don't, and then whenever the Green Party does get the money to start challenging things beforehand, because Jill, on my show, she talked about it, and she talked about it on other shows too. She wanted to get out ahead of a lot of this stuff because she knows what's coming. But the Democrats specifically work ahead of her and make sure they drain their funds so that they can get out ahead of it. Even with the situation in New York, how they just randomly changed the requirements at the last minute to stop her and RFK Jr. from making the ballot. It was either you gonna go broke trying to make this ballot, or you're gonna use all of your labor to get the signatures and verify the signatures to get on the ballot, and it's gonna hurt you in other states, right? She tried it, she couldn't make it because it was a last minute change, and she was already in the middle of trying to stay on ballots in other states and spending money to maintain the parties in the campaign. Like, it's insane. That shouldn't be legal.
So I want to talk a little bit about the implications of what people are saying with this Trump victory, right? One of the reasons a lot of people, including people that were on the left or independent, whatever, went to Donald Trump was because this idea that he's going to end the war in Ukraine, that he is going to somehow do something different foreign policy wise than Harris. Now, because Harris is a continuation of the Biden administration, which is a continuation of the Obama administration. So, but the perspective outside of the United States is actually that nothing will change, especially the perspective from people in West Asia, or what we call the Middle East. We're talking about, people in Lebanon and Gaza and Palestine, and Russia and in Eurasia. Russians don't really see too much of a difference. There has been a recognition of, okay, well, this is a new administration. Our objectives are going to continue. Maria Zaharova, the foreign ministry spokesperson, has already said, and that is the overall sentiment. However, there are also pockets in Russia that preferred Donald Trump to Harris for social reasons as well. And what I've been hearing from a lot of people in general across the spectrum of people who did vote for Trump or hope Trump would win is that they feel like he's going to take on the globalists. This whole phrase, right? The globalists have died, and now we're going to take on the globalists. Before I let you in on this, Niko, I want to go to this tweet. Jayme, if you can go. This is from Alexander Dugin, and he is in Russia. But his statement echoes what many people in the conservative party in the United States and people who voted for Trump has said. This idea that Trump is just going to drain the swamp. No, it's up, and he's going to take on the globalists. And that in itself, it's right here. That in itself is, I think, to me, wishful thinking at best, and ignorance and dangerous, because
Mike Pompeo.
That also signals, that we're not going to look at what Trump is doing. So let's take a look at this tweet, and then I want to hear your thoughts, Niko. He said, "So we have won. That is decisive. The world will never ever be like before. Globalists have lost their final combat. The future is finally open. I am really happy." I want to hear your thoughts on that.
So they did win, that's for sure. And it was a decisive victory, but in the world really might not be the same after this. And it's not necessarily because of what Trump will or won't do. It's just because of the implications and the impact of such a shift in power. And I think it's really, we're in a period of uncertainty. I feel like that's like the best way to describe it. Because like we said, we know what would have happened under Kamala. I wouldn't even call Biden's administration a continuation of the Obama administration. I would call it a worsening. It actually was worse than the Obama administration. All the things that Obama had to step in, like, yo, man, chill out, dog. We can't take it that far. Like, Biden just went full-fledged fascist and warmonger on, including Israel, right? At least Obama had a little bit more control over that situation. Trump is not anti-globalist He's anti the globalists who don't like him. So we should be clear about that. Like, I don't know why. Like, he doesn't. Trump is a very unpredictably predictable guy. The people who like him, he likes. That's what it comes down to. The people who he doesn't like, he don't like. And he will, he'll surprise. I feel like the thing about that makes this the Trump presidency so interesting, just like last time, is the discombobulation and the revelations that come with discombobulation. The Epstein situation first unfolded under the Obama presidency, and he was able to get away with what, 2 years? I think he only really served one of those years. And it was because the system was functioning the way it was supposed to. I was told that he only was supposed to get so many years. I was told that he is above my pay grade, and I'm going to do what I'm told because that's what I'm supposed to do. And the system was functioning as such that no one was being held accountable for it until Trump got in and everything got crazy. And all of a sudden we found out, oh shit, this Epstein thing is really about to happen. And I feel like it got out of people's hands and then he was suicidal, but not really. Right? The discombobulation that comes from Trump's presidency is why the world won't be the same. That's why the world look the same now. Right? Because it's almost like the Democrats and the warmongers specifically of both parties were overcorrecting from the things that did not get handled efficiently under the Trump presidency. So, for example, the situation in Russia right now, between Russia and Ukraine. Yeah, they were overthrowing governments. Yeah, it's always been a tit for tat kind of situation between East and West Ukraine, the situation in the Donbass region. Like, we know that. But it literally went from tit for tat, like it's been in the region for a while, to, yeah, this shit, we're not allowing it. We're going to war. We're about to Ukraine going to be Russia again. That's what it is. Because y'all are out of your minds. But that, did that happen under Trump? No. Were there sanctions under Trump? Yes. Were there tensions under Trump? Absolutely. Was there a full-blown war under Trump? Were Ukrainians being sent to the meat grinder in mass under Trump? Were they being sent to Burkina Faso to train terrorists just to fight against liberation groups because they know that Russia is allied with them and so they have to send people to help? Like, was that happening under Trump? No. So basically, the discombobulation under Trump is why the world won't look the same. We don't know what that means going forward. Implying that it's positive, you can't say that because you can't definitively say Trump is against globalism or globalism whenever he's participated in some of the most globalist and globalism policies. Yeah. So I feel like it will be different, but we can't say for certain if it's good or bad. We just can acknowledge that it will be different because of the discombobulation.
I think it's kabuki theater, a trapdoor. They're just moving us to a different area. When you talked about Pompeo did attend Bilderberg with Jared Kushner, and Peter Thiel, who happens to be the bankroller of J.D. Vance, happens to be on the steering committee of Bilderberg. And
sugar daddy for real.
Palantir. I mean, what'd you say? I'm sorry.
It's a sugar daddy. That's literally J.D. Vance's sugar daddy, bro. That's the best way to describe it.
But I don't think that the majority of people voted for Donald Trump because they thought he was anti-globalist. I think there's the big megaphone screaming that. And it's great when we call them and we question them on stuff and they're like, I mean, watching Robert Barnes make excuses for Peter Thiel, while going after Whitney Webb, you know what I'm saying? It was just kind of crazy. It was like, are you kidding me? Like, you're excusing. Oh, so once again, what you just said, Niko, it's like, oh, you like certain billionaires. There's other billionaires you like. You don't like BlackRock, but you like Blackstone, right? You don't like the Alphabet Mafia, but here comes the PayPal Mafia come waltzing in the door.
You like Zuckerberg, but you like Elon.
Yeah. I mean, come on. The thing about it is that I think the majority of the people who did cast a vote yesterday, right, whether it be counted or not in this flawed system, they did it because of economics, right? They thought more than anything, it's the economy, stupid. And if you can help, Trump can alleviate that. And I think it was kind of like a fairy tale of sorts to think that so many things were better economically under Donald Trump. But there are stats out there that prove the inflation numbers.
There were some things that were better economically under Trump.
Better, yeah. But
it's not necessarily because of Trump. It's just like they were better under Trump.
They were.
If that makes sense.
He really hasn't laid out an economic plan other than drill, baby, drill. He's going to drive your energy costs down. Do you think there's something that he can do economically, or are we in this quagmire of sorts where we don't make anything anymore? We don't fix anything anymore. Fiorella has said this before. Most people in the United States work for an app It's just a service-based industry, and it's a small paid service-based industry. I mean, everybody's struggling. What do you think Donald Trump could do, and how could we hold him accountable once he gets rolling after January 6th?
So actually, one of the things that he could do is start having some bilateral conversations with these other countries, because I think a lot of people are not understanding the implications of just allowing the situation between Israel and Palestine and Israel and Lebanon and Israel and Iran to go on for so long is causing, this is hugely affecting your energy costs because of the predictions of what, it hasn't even begun to affect you, like the actual product necessarily yet, but it's the predictions of the uncertainty that will affect your energy prices, that'll affect your oil price and your gas prices. The wheat problem that's coming out of Ukraine, right? The war between Russia and Ukraine is causing a wheat issue, and that's a grain issue, and that's a huge problem for the economy as well, bigger than what people think. If you start to the energy wars, really, that China and Russia are definitely winning, that could be alleviated if you start working with them and talking to them. Because a lot of the economy right now, I feel like, is a reaction to the fear that the dollar is dying. And so people are scooping everything up that they can to basically cut bait. That's what I feel like is happening. Like the wealthiest of the wealthy are scooping up all the money that they can, all the real estate that they can, gathering up their passports. And whenever the time comes, because it's not like they're doing any of this for the economy of the United States. The United States economy is horrid, right? Vanguard is investing in the infrastructure of Ukraine post Russia-Ukraine war because they think it's going to help the United States economy. That's not what it is. It's because they're worried about themselves. Because otherwise you wouldn't be investing in that war, because that war has hurt us. There's nothing about that war that's helped us. So the thing that
democracy, democracy, stopping Putin, slowing him down. You know, if Vladimir Putin took Ukraine, they'll march all the way to England again, like William Wallace. So there are some things, right? It's crazy hearing Democrat voters actually, repeat these lies and say, well, that's one of my concerns is the Ukraine war. I don't want Vladimir Putin to go crazy. Like, what are you talking about, you parrot?
I don't want Russia to win. When somebody says, oh, yeah, like, because there are people that will criticize Jill Stein, for example, like, oh, man, she's a Putin puppet anyway. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, so what are the implications of that? What does that actually mean to you? What does it mean to be a Putin puppet? And why are you so concerned about it? Because I'm curious now. Because you said this a lot, and I just want to know what it actually means. And they're like, well, it means that she's working for Russia. Okay, so why? So, like, let's just say if that was true. Say if she had some type of allyship with Russia, which wouldn't actually be all that weird for a politician to try to create allyships with other countries. But whatever, let's just accept it as being true. What is the problem with that exactly? Why do you not like that? And most people can't even give you an answer.
Yeah.
They just like, well, because Russia's bad. What do you mean? We were taught in school that Russia's bad, and they say all the time on the news that Russia's bad. And Russia steals our elections, even though we don't really know what that would look like or what it means. And they haven't really been able to give any examples of that, not real examples. And because I want to know, because you don't have a problem. You have a problem with the idea that Russia could possibly steal the elections when they're bragging to you in Israel and with AIPAC that they are stealing the election. Like, yeah, man, we bought off so many fucking Congress people and senators and governors. And you don't seem to have a problem with that. Why? So if Kamala can be bought off by AIPAC, you don't have by a genocide organization, you don't have a problem with that. Explain to me how you have a problem with Jill Stein supposedly being allied with Russia. And they can't even give you an answer. So the Democrats in their duplicity, in their delusions, are just like, it's next level, bro. I had to have to spend like 2 days off of Twitter at times. Like, just I can't deal with this, because you read the shit and you're just like, bro, there's no way that these are real people. And sometimes I be wishing they're bots, and they're not bots. They be real fucking people with these opinions sometimes.
Yeah.
It makes you wish that they were bots.
They're real people. That's the sad part. So another thing that I think people have been worried about, even people, in the Middle East, one of the things they've had against Trump is, with Trump, he killed Soleimani, he expanded the Greater Israel Project, he wanted to move the embassy to Jerusalem, and he actually did verbally go after the anti-genocide protesters, the Palestinian protesters, the supporters, saying that he was going to deport all of these, Hamas-affiliated people. He had this rhetoric of standing by Israel. He's had Adelson, the Adelson Mafia, right next to him. Yes, while both him and Kamala have AIPAC money. But this is another aspect as to why Trump would potentially be disastrous. Do you think that in terms of Iran, which he did say, I will blow it up into smithereens if they come and, you know, do anything against us, but he also said, well, I don't want to start any wars. Which Trump do you think will lead in this? Because he has contradicted himself various times. Just
I was gonna say, ask me tomorrow, or ask me. Yeah, it depends on the day, right? Because like this is the same man who says he's gonna blow up North Korea, and then like North Korea, he was friends with Kim Jong Un, and North Korea and South Korea had peace for like the first time ever. We don't know. It depends on the day, right? It's just a strange. Trump, like I say, is a strangely predictably unpredictable guy. If he likes you, if he thinks it, the one thing I will say about Trump, if he thinks that you are engaging in good faith, at least on the international community, I guess because of how rare that is in his one job, but two, in politics, I feel like he is willing to work with you. Because people got to remember, so with this Ukraine situation, the impeachment started because Zelensky at the time, probably because he knew he wouldn't survive another U.S. administration if he didn't do it. But he wanted to get the corruption that was put in his administration and in the Ukrainian government by Joe Biden and Biden. He is communicating with Trump about that. And Zelensky and Trump did not like each other at the time. But Trump felt like he was communicating in good faith and that he actually wanted to do this. And that actually was beneficial for Trump, too, to get them out of there as far as relationships with Russia is concerned. And that's why they started the impeachment. And then they accused Trump at that moment of doing what Joe Biden actually did, which was threatening to withhold money if Zelensky didn't do what he said. But that's not but that's not what happened. And if that was the case, we know they would have just called fucking Zelensky and he would have showed up. You know how we know that? Because he does it all the time now. So if that was actually the case, Zelensky would have just showed up and testified against Trump, but that never happened. So Trump can be reasonable when he believes that you're acting in good faith and it's to his benefit. But there are times where I think that he doesn't have any control over his government or his military, and his people don't want to believe that the all-powerful, almighty Trump doesn't have control over the military-industrial complex within the government. Because remember when he wanted to pull out of Afghanistan, and his fucking staff told him no? And I'm like, you're the commander-in-chief, sir. What do you mean your staff told you no? Tell them yes and do it anyway. But he couldn't do it. Remember whenever, so first of all, I don't believe that he assassinated Soleimani. I believe he woke up and got a fucking call. I don't think that he actually did it. And if you go back and watch his speech about like right after it happened, where he's trying to justify it, he's all over the place. It's like he just learned who the hell Soleimani was that morning. He just started using these generalizations about terrorism, like accusing him of committing all kinds of terrorist attacks in Iraq. And we're like, oh no, he's literally known as like the terrorist killer. Like he's the one who kills terrorists. And it's like he had no idea, but I have to look like I'm in control for my audience and for my base. And so I believe that's really the problem that happens with Trump when it comes to international community, is that he doesn't have as much control as his base wants to believe he has. And he spends a lot of time convincing them that bad decisions made by his cabinet while he sleeps are his decisions, because he still has to maintain that illusion that no one can control him.
Can you play the David Icke video real quick, Jayme? That's on the list. Do you have the list, by the way? It's yesterday's doc, or no? It's the David Icke video on the bottom. And I want to talk about common sense criticisms. I've always said, no matter at the end of the day, you know, and people would ask me, Pasta, you were so anti-Democratic Party for years, and now it seems like you're just so anti-Trump. And that happened after RFK joined the campaign. And I've always, you know, maintained the position that I'm going to go after the biggest threat to we the people, right? And I believe that turned into Trump when my gut told me, like, they're going to put him back in. He's going to continue their wars. He's going to even expand it into Iran. I mean, this is bad. Getting the Republicans, right? We got all the Democrats on the QR codes during the COVID lockdowns. Well, how do you get the Republicans on there? Well, you bring in J.D. Vance. You use the fear of immigrants stealing your elections. Or to close the border, you got to get people on digital ID. So I think that's where we're going with that. But the problem is when you look at the media and the mainstream media on both sides, they're, you know, hyper focused on the culture war BS, right? Back and forth. There's no common sense criticisms. I think that for us today, we start the whole process of making sure we have common sense criticisms. In other words, I reached out to Robbie Yeager yesterday because I wanted to talk about oil a little bit, right? And spillage. And
how my man doing?
I didn't hear from him. I hope he's doing good. But I mean, he wrote some amazing articles on our pipelines leaking all over the place. We can never have a conversation about that because the right, they're like crazy. Drill, baby, drill. We need to get our own oil. You're just ridiculous. And the left, we were on a show yesterday. They're not even talking about the climate crisis, right? Like we can't even get to a point and say, okay, maybe it's not the end of the world like Al Gore says it is, but we do have pipelines leaking here. And if we want to drill, can't we do it in a clean way where it doesn't affect our water, our wildlife? How do we?
Yeah, the environment has like just fallen to the wayside. I don't know how when it's affecting so many people, but yeah, the environmental conversation has fallen to the wayside. Well, because it's been connected now to this global everything is, you want to protect the environment, that's globalism. I'm like, no, that's not that doesn't make any sense. Like,
well, how do we move the conversation to the right spot is what I want to know. And then I'm going to play you this clip because he talks about a lot of these things that we need to start realizing. I mean, I think sometimes when they have these moments, these guys will be gone because they are talking common sense. In fact, let's just play it really quickly and then give us your thoughts on it. Here, Jayme, go ahead, buddy.
This is a mandate. He's won the national popular vote for the first time for a Republican for the first time since 2004. This is a big deal. This isn't backing into the office. This is a mandate to do what you said you were going to do. Get the economy working again for regular working class Americans, fix immigration, try to get crime under control, try to reduce the chaos in the world. This is a mandate from the American people to do that. I think I'm interpreting the results tonight as the revenge of just the regular old working class American, the anonymous American who has been crushed, insulted, condescended to. They're not garbage. They're not Nazis. They're just regular people who get up and go to work every day and are trying to make a better life for their kids. And they feel like they have been told to just shut up when they have complained about the things that are hurting them in their own lives. I also feel like this election, as we sit here and pour over this tonight, is something of an indictment of the political information complex. I mean, we've been sitting around here for the last couple of weeks, and the story that was portrayed was not true. I mean, we were told Puerto Rico was going to change the election. Liz Cheney, Nikki Haley voters, women lying to their husbands. Before that, it was Tim Walz and the camo hats. Night after night after night, we were told all these things and gimmicks were going to somehow push Harris over the line. And we were just ignoring the fundamentals. Inflation, people feeling like that they were barely able to tread water at best. That was the fundamentals of the election. And so I think that both parties should always look at the results of an election and figure out what went right and what went wrong. But I think for all of us who cover elections and talk about elections and do this on a day-to-day basis, we have to figure out how to understand, talk to, and listen to the half of the country that rose up tonight and said, we've had enough.
And right after that speech, they picked him on up. They went to commercial. They escorted him out the building, and he will never be able to talk on CNN ever again. But Niko, that is the question. He is saying we need to start having these conversations that make sense. Stop demonizing people. Stop playing team sports, and find a way that we can all move together amicably forward in a positive way when we're not all suffering. I mean, we are in a broken fucking economy here, man. And it sucks. And that's gonna move anybody out there to vote against the status quo. Your thoughts, buddy?
First of all, that was like a very somber analysis. Like that man was just the way he said it, basically, like it was a mandate. Because it was. I mean, was it a mandate necessarily for Trump? Or I feel like it was more so a mandate for like, we just need something different than what the hell is going on right now. I feel like that's what it was. It was that, and what we're not going to do is reward the shit that we've just dealt with for the last 4 years. After y'all told us that he was the worst thing that could happen to us, but out of the last 12 to 18 years, y'all have been the worst thing that have happened to us. So I think that he was right about that, and I do believe that it's fallacious and fictitious to try to label every single Trump voter as a Nazi, as a racist, as whatever. I've met Trump voters that are more open-minded than most liberals that I've met. And it's happened often, more often than you would think. You're going to call those Arabs that voted for Trump in mass in Michigan like Nazis because they refused to support and they wanted to make sure that the person who is causing the destruction of their people in Palestine, their brothers and sisters and family members in Palestine, like didn't win, like because that's what that was. That's what happened. They were like, yeah, we could vote for Joe Stein, but that might not be far enough. Let's go ahead and make sure that this bitch suffers. Like I respect that because those same Arab voters held Trump accountable last election. And despite their fears of what Trump could do, they selflessly chose to build a coalition against the people who were destroying people in a country far, far away that doesn't even affect them anymore, technically speaking. And they still made a selfless decision. So there was a mandate that night. And those people are not Nazis. And if you think that everybody voted for Trump as a Nazi, then you're missing the point and you're missing the picture. And you're ignoring the facts of the last 4 years. I didn't just move to Brazil because I love Brazil. I do love Brazil. It's awesome. It's amazing. I ain't gonna lie. I probably would still move there anyway eventually. But I moved to Brazil partially because I'm like, I don't see a future in the States for me or my family. I need to figure out a backup plan. I need to have an option because being involved in politics in a way that my family can't get involved because they're just so busy. And it gives you the ability to see things before they start to happen or as they're happening in a way that your family doesn't have the time or the freedom to see. I think that you guys would probably agree with that too. And you start planning ahead because I'm like, I see where this shit's going. Nope, I will not. I need to go ahead and start, organizing my affairs to so to speak, and prepping my mom and prepping my brother. I always have to give my friends and family updates about how they should be moving because this shit's real. And the Democrats spent the last 4 years, and specifically this last campaign, telling you that things have actually gotten better. Yeah. That's insane. And until like you said, until the people who are talking about this in front of the world are willing to acknowledge what happened last night, which isn't that necessarily Trump won, it was that this liberal fascism lost, that we're going to keep going back, and the door is going to keep swinging too far in one direction or the other until they start having, and instead of Republicans continuing to win, because they won because of Trump. Like, don't get it twisted. It's not like the Republicans are more popular. I feel like they won because of Trump's popularity. But what are y'all going to do whenever he's not here anymore? Because J.D. Vance ain't going to cut it.
You want to talk about Shmuley, your favorite?
Well, no, actually, before that, since we're on the topic of the Arab population and how they responded to Trump, we also saw a lot of support coming from Black and Latinos for Trump. And I sort of mentioned this on yesterday's stream, like, what could that be? Well, a lot of these people have been living in the United States for a while now. It's not like they're just, fresh coming into the country. But it's also the tokenization part, which you can speak to, Niko. The Democrats tokenizing minorities all the time. AOC with her photo shoots of the kids in cages, and then the stupid tweet she did on Puerto Rico that had nothing to do with an anti-Trump rally, but it was about Puerto Rican independence, because Puerto Ricans no longer want to be under the thumb of the United States and no longer want to be a colony, and that movement is growing in popularity every single day. What do you make of this growing support, not just of Latinos and Black Americans, but also you have Indians, you have Asians, you have so many minorities flocking to Donald Trump.
The Italian American community too got into Donald Trump, by the way.
That's like number one.
The East Asian community going to Trump in such large numbers recently, it was kind of surprising to me too. Like, because they traditionally vote Democrat, or they don't vote at all. But when they do vote, they usually vote Democrat. I would say that, like, the tokenization of Black people, not only the tokenization of Black people, but then it's like y'all tokenize us and then y'all fuck us over. So it's not like y'all just tokenizing us, it's y'all tokenize us and then screw us over afterwards. It's like, damn, it's like with Calvin Candy from Django and the relationship he had with Samuel L. Jackson. Like, at least Samuel got benefits from being in the house. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least he got to run some things. That man had some say so. We don't even get that shit.
You got to sign checks. You know what I'm saying?
He was straight, man. Like, Samuel was good at Django. Yeah, we don't even get that. So it's like we get tokenized, then we got thrown. Bro, think about it like this, y'all. How many people were in that room last night because they've been supporting Kamala with money and labor and their own efforts, and they're putting their image on the line for the last several months, and she didn't even fucking address them last night when she lost?
Yep.
Are you kidding me, bro? That is literally the Democratic Party. That is the definition of the Democratic Party. If they can't use you anymore, they have no further use of you, and they have no reason to address you. That is exactly why Black people and Hispanic people and even women flocked to Trump, because it wasn't. Once again, I feel like we keep saying like people voted for Trump. That's what maybe some of Trump supporters want to believe, but that's not really what I believe happened. Especially once again when you look at the Arab community, Black people were saying. I saw, for example, the way that Trump is being treated by the justice system. They related to that. And they were like, damn, he getting treated like he one of us. That's crazy. Because they thought that at least white guy billionaires were exempt from that. But they were literally Black people who said, damn, he being treated like us. Yeah. And they were like, why would I? It's like, if he getting treated like us, in their minds, because, you know, they're a little bit more singular. It's based off the issues that mostly affect them. And so in their mind, he's not a part of that system. And they're going to vote against that system, whatever that may look like at the time. They will vote against that system. Arabs in Michigan, they voted against the system that enabled genocide and funded genocide. Women, maybe they voted against the tokenization of women's issues. The fact that Democrats keep pretending like they're going to fight for women's issues, and it's like the same fight y'all been having, and every time y'all have power, y'all don't really do shit about it. Like, or the damsel in distress thing that they keep doing with women, like, oh, they got to be saved. Maybe women can fucking save themselves. You ever think about that? Like, maybe, and a lot of women feel that way, right? White guys get tired of being tokenized. Well, I don't know if you call it even reverse tokenization to some degree, where like, oh, if we don't bow down to the liberal agenda of Democrats, and throw ourselves at the feet of minorities and women or whatever, like, then we're shitbags. Like, maybe I just want to live my life. But yet they get called Nazis for not wanting to participate. They just want to live their lives. They don't got to be advocates. We don't need everybody to be an advocate. And it's not for everybody to be an advocate. As long as you're not harming anybody else, then you're good. But they get told that they're worthless if they don't do enough. Like, all of that is a vote against the system. It's not necessarily a vote for Donald Trump. Everybody at this point is tired of being tokenized. The American people are tired of being tokenized because they've categorized all of us. They've balkanized all of us to some degree. And that there's now blowback because of it. Because now you've created these sections of everybody who has a different beef with the system. And if your candidate looks more like the system than the other candidate, they don't give a shit about the bad that the other candidate did. Your candidate looks like the bad that affected them and that affects them. And they will vote against it every time.
Yeah. It's funny when you just said that the Black men, they got a feeling of like when Donald Trump with the lawfare, you know, when they were using it against him, how they felt, man, the similarities. I saw a comedian who talked about that and was like, wow, that is kind of crazy. Then when he got shot, they were like, oh man, Donald Trump, that's my cousin over there, man. He's like, holy shit, that's my dog over there. I feel for him, right? You know,
because who's traditionally the ones who have gotten shot or has attempts on their lives have been the ones that have worked with us and for us. Yeah. To some degree. Like, whether or not people can talk about the assassination attempt, the genuine, like, we don't know. Okay. But from the perception, like, shit, the only ones we know got attempts on their lives are JFK, MLK, Malcolm X, Fred Hampton. Like, shit, maybe he is one of us. He getting to courts with us. He getting shot like us. Like, he being treated unequally and unfairly by the system like us. Yeah. But the truth is, like, whenever it was time to brag about what he would do and what he has done for Black people, he had actually no problem with doing so. Yeah. Did you notice that? Like, he's braggadocious about that First Step Act, which he should be. If Kamala did something for Black people, she's like wants to half step because she's worried about offending the white people that would otherwise vote for her. That's fucking weird.
Yeah. I thought he leaned into the First Step Act in 2020. I didn't think he leaned into it as much because he wanted to have that immigrant crime. And I think somewhere in his campaign, they said, don't attack Kamala Harris as her record as an attorney general or as a DA, even though she was off with a Black man, because we have a plan, right? We want to get crime under control. We want to sell the thought process of immigrant crime. So I don't think he leaned into it enough as much.
When Kamala started running, he stopped. He stopped mentioning the First Step Act. You're absolutely right. And he stopped mentioning, because he was talking about her record as an AG and DA until she started running specifically. And then they switched it off because she started running as a prosecutor. Like, oh, I'm going to prosecute this. Like, what the fuck? Y'all do know, like, I wonder if anybody knows, just for history's sake, there's been no DA that's become an AG that then becomes the president. Once you make that path, you choose that path, you're fucked. Because your job is to work for the state against the people as a DA, as an AG. There's been no president who has gone the DA, AG, senator path and then just become president. Because you have to now defend every decision that you make. That's one of the reasons why federal judges get selected and not elected. They don't want them really defending every decision that they make, and they don't want them, having a party alliance, even though we know they do. But they want the image of objectivity. But yeah, there's a reason for that. She was never going to be the president. That does not happen. You don't see AGs that become presidents.
Yeah, we should look up the George Coscone race if you can, Jayme. In is that the AG in California, right, or is it LA or the Attorney General? Do they have or the DA of? I
thought he was.
I think he was the DA, right? He was running against Nathan Hochman. Is George Coscone?
But that's the other issue too: the crime situation, the houselessness, the drug use, the opioid crisis. All of that is also taking a play into this because people are seeing that happen. And by the way, people ask me how is it possible that you have homeless people everywhere? Why doesn't the government help? Because that's what the Russian government does. They're like, oh, we're going to help you. Go here or go there. People there can't understand how we have allowed it to become this mess. And where are most of those people at? Well, they're mostly in New York and San Francisco and in Los Angeles. And so these are all Democratic.
The richest country in the world. It's like not just that we allow it it's like we allow it to happen in the richest country in the world. How do you have so much debt? Like in a healthcare system that should be the most advanced in the world. Oh, well, because they want it. They're okay with it. It's less for the insurance company to pay out if you're dead. They got all the money they need off you. It's allowed. You're right. Even here in Brazil, when I tell people about the healthcare system, they're like, what the no, that can't be right. It's so if you wanted to have a baby, I said, oh, that's like $10,000 worth of debt right there, bro.
Yeah.
Yep.
You have to pay to have a baby? Yeah. You might go broke. For real, they can't believe it. I'm like, and that's just to give birth. That's if you give birth and everything went well. That's like if everything went well and that's just to give birth. That's not all the appointments before, nor all the appointments after.
Niko, one of the areas I think, did you have something? Can I jump in?
No. I'm just watching the clock because he has to go.
I know. It's kind of funny because I said to myself, I'm going to stop apologizing and stop doing all that crap and just say what the hell I want to say. But I don't want to be an a-hole, a misogynistic a-hole and step over a woman's word.
He's getting to you. He's getting to you. I see it.
Yeah, no, it's been a while. I haven't been able to do it. Listen, one of the mistakes, if you ask people when Trump was running in 2020, and you ask a lot of people who supported him what his biggest criticism, what his biggest mistake was, a lot of them would say Julian Assange, right? They would say, we messed up on Julian Assange. We slept on that. Donald Trump should have pardoned Julian Assange. It was a mistake. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of people on the conservative side that are kind of pushing back on Donald Trump's more and more. I still think the base of Donald Trump supports his stance on Israel. He sells it. But there's a lot of people who are pushing back. Jake Shields is one of them. And if you know the guy, not Niko, but Sneeko got into it with Rabbi Shmuley yesterday. And I think this is an area. I want to play this video, a little bit of this, but I think this is an area of opportunity where there is a bunch of people. And we saw this young lady who was in line at a Trump rally in New York. And they asked her about, what his weakest point. She said, Israel. She says,
Candace Owens,
Nakba, Israel, and Candace Owens. We see this opportunity, this opening right now. Let's play the video of Sneeko real quick with Rabbi Shmuley. We'll just get a little taste of it.
Just a little taste.
We'll get a little taste. It's a long one, but if you get 2 minutes into it, we'll see it. And I'll get your thoughts. And also, maybe we can find a way that we can exploit this avenue and say, look, you can't be America first if you're Israel first. Here's the video you're watching. The Truthwire. We're here with Niko House.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm Free Palestine. I don't support anything you do. I think you're a disgrace. This is for Trump right now. I don't want to have this discussion. I don't need to speak to you.
I'm a disgrace?
Yeah, I think everything you stand for is a disgrace.
Oh, me? You know who I am?
Yes, of course I do.
Hey, you know who I am?
Yes, I do. Yeah, it's all bad PR. I see what you've done with your daughter.
What is it about me that you don't like? Is it this?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Did you just
I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. He's not talking to you.
You need this guy to defend you?
You think think I need it?
serious?
Do you think I need anybody?
That is pathetic.
Do you think I need somebody to defend me from you?
Pathetic. You see these anti-Semites, the
These
biggest
anti-Semites.
cowards on earth. He asks.
Then look me in the eye when you talk to me.
He asks
Then
a
look me in
big,
the eye.
strong guy
Who asked him?
if he needs to be canceled. Okay. Well,
asked him?
that's a disgrace.
Do you think I need anybody
Tell
to?
him that I can talk to you man to man. He doesn't
I don't need to
sit
tell
there
him
hovering
anything.
over me. Okay.
Why are you yelling at this protest right now?
Because do not ever have your
You don't tell me what
bodyguards
to do.
threaten me. You got me?
Nobody threatened you.
You got me? Everyone
Why does
heard
they
it.
strike
You
you?
want me to cancel him? What does cancel mean? Beat me up, shoot me, kill me? What
You
does
asked me a
cancel
question.
What does it mean? I don't know what you have. What's in there? What does cancel mean? How dare you? Here, nothing. You know what it is? I'm not afraid. I'll show you. Here, I got a phone. I got glasses there. Any extra battery. You show me what you got in there. You won't open it, will you? Do you want me to cancel? Anti-Semites are cowards. Cowards, Jew haters. You guys are the biggest
You support
cowards.
genocide. How am I accountable looking you in the eye? You can't look in the eye.
You support genocide.
Who supports
You
Hamas?
support the slaughter of the Jewish people.
I do.
You are nothing but
Okay. You asked me a
disgrace
question.
to that
I
flag.
support a slaughter.
That flag is liberty.
Okay,
That
is it-
flag is freedom.
America
You
first has
are
nothing to do with
about- You
Israel.
are about anti-Semitism,
Am I?
racism.
Am I?
You are about bigotry.
Yeah.
You are all about, what is it?
The Zionists have no part of the Make America Great Again movement. You need to get out. We don't want to fund your country. We are no part of you. America first cannot happen until. Why don't you go to
You don't
Israel?
want Jews being American.
Why don't you go to Israel?
Where did you come? Where did your
I'm born in America.
So am I.
Why don't you go to Israel?
So-
You support Israel.
I got a little racist.
Because Jews have no
I
place
got
in
a little racist.
support us
they
if you
do.
could. You know what?
Who do you have allegiance
Maybe you would
to?
do a
Answer
lot
my question.
worse.
Answer my question. Who do you have allegiance to?
I have allegiance to that flag that you are
Okay.
disgracing.
Why do you come here with an
right
Israel
this
flag?
second.
Why do you come here with an Israel
Well,
flag?
right now, I would.
I saw you with an Israel
Of
flag.
course, I love Israel. It's
Okay.
America's
So
greatest
go to
ally.
Israel.
Absolutely.
Greatest ally. What do they give us?
Let me ask you.
What does Israel give us?
What
Quick
does,
question.
what does Israel give you?
Yeah.
The most essential intelligence
Oh, yeah.
about whether or not we're going to be attacked.
Bombs?
What we give Israel gives us is the
Then what happened on
freedom
9/11?
in the Middle East.
What happened on
Freedom in the
9/11?
Middle East. You tell me what happened.
Yeah,
Did
best
the Jews do it?
intelligence.
Did the Jews do it?
Of course.
The Jews did 9/11.
Of course Israel did 9/11.
Listen to this Jew
Of
hater.
course Israel did
Listen
9/11.
to this disgusting Jew
Disgusting.
hater. What else did we do? Did we kill ourselves?
I don't know. You started a dildo business with your daughter is what you did.
Yeah,
You started a dildo business with your daughter.
By the way, he has the friends and family discount, everybody.
Disgusting.
Let me tell you
You're
something.
disgusting. You call me disgusting. You sell dildos with your daughter.
Let me tell you something.
You sell dildos with your
No,
daughter.
Jamie.
I saw you dance at a child at a wedding.
No, sir.
You
No,
work
sir.
on
No,
children.
sir. What you believe
You have a
that
mom and
Jews
pop
are
shop with your daughter.
murderers, killers.
Do I? When did I say that?
You said we did not.
Okay.
That's
So-
enough.
Yeah.
Jamie, we're
What's
going
the proof?
Of course.
Jamie, we're going like this
That-
for like 10 minutes, Jamie.
Well,
I
Oh,
don't want to
wow.
get to the dildo part, but I was trying to avoid it. But anyways, I mean,
That
look,
was
listen, there are people in the conservative movement, the populist rights base, that don't like that stance on Israel. Sneeko being one of them. Jake Shields is another guy I can think about, right? And I'm very happy to see this. Not because there's a big fight,
Sneeko.
but
I
what's
thought
that?
you said Nico. I'm like, what? Well, I'm not conservative.
Sneeko.
Sneeko, got you.
His name is Nico, not Nico.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think this is a positive thing because I think that it allows people to, it's an example from a guy who's a really popular podcaster to show that you don't have to buy completely into team sports and tribal behavior. You can think for yourself. You can say, listen, I like Donald Trump. This is a fault of his. I'm never going to stand behind his stance on what's going on in Israel. And I'm going to let these people know what they're doing is a slaughter. Too many people got behind Donald Trump and they played the tribal politics and they went along with this. This to me is something positive. Your thoughts, Niko?
Yeah, I gotta
Niko.
as a person who's criticized Sneeko in the past for some of his comments, I gotta give him credit because he really stood on business there and he didn't flinch. And Shmuley pulled out all the stunts that he usually pulls. Oh my God, why is your friend threatening me? It got a little racist there for a second. Then he like just assumed because a black man walked up that it was a threat. Like he's just like, yo, because if my friend was getting yelled at by somebody, I would also walk up to see what was going on. And both Sneeko and his friend were extremely calm, and Shmuley just got louder and louder. And yet Sneeko still stated his point. He's like, y'all are not y'all like the Zionist movement has nothing to do with America first. And then he called him out like, who do you represent? And he's like, oh, I'm America. He's like, yeah, you just wearing an Israeli flag. Oh, well, yeah, I was wearing that. Like it's like he didn't know that Sneeko saw him with the Israeli flag, right? And when he called him out, he was like, oh, yeah. I mean, I'm still pro-Israel. It's like, no, you can't be both. And why did you take off your Israeli flag before you walked up to Sneeko to have that conversation? right? Like, why did you do that? Because you didn't want people to think that you were more pro-Israel at the chagrin of the United States, like to the demise, basically the eventual demise of the United States. And you are like, you would rather see the United States destroyed than see Israel held accountable, and that's the reality. And then whenever anyone challenges that, it's like, you're an anti-Semite. But he didn't know who Niko was. And he's already, he supports Hamas. We know that everybody who is that's pro-Palestine doesn't necessarily support Hamas. Everybody knows that. He didn't even know who Niko was. But he's assuming that he knows where Niko stands on the issue. Why? Because everybody got to be an anti-Semite. Yeah, nah. This is an issue that I think we can exploit because, or a really, an issue that we can exploit because even Trump's own movement doesn't agree with his pro-Israel stance because it is antithetical to the America First movement. You saw people even, they sat out or they did like a quiet endorsement of Trump, but like they weren't as full-throated about their support of Trump because of his pro-Israel stance. So he's already kind of like challenged Bibi personally in person. I don't know if y'all saw that video where he said it was very unfortunate that Palestinians are experiencing what they're going through right now and they're not being allowed to reach their full potential, and that he felt like they deserved the opportunity, and that they had the opportunity, they would be just as productive as any other country, if not more productive. Kamala would never say something like, bro, Bibi looked visibly uncomfortable. So we know that Trump plays to his ego and he plays to his base, and usually those two things are intertwined. Whatever his base is demanding and they continue to demand, he will continue to support. But if they let it fall to the memory hole, he'll just forget about it and do what the establishment tells him to do. So in this particular issue, I think that there is an opportunity to coalesce and get them to hold Trump accountable so that we can rein Israel in. And plus, Trump doesn't like fighting losing battles, and Israel is definitely in the middle of a losing battle right now. So.
Well, Niko, I think that's...
Yeah, we got to give you some time to get on out of here, get to the next show.
Yeah.
Something's wrong with your camera, too. It's like on a slow speed. It's either your internet connection. You're like moving in the Matrix. Or maybe you are in the Matrix.
I probably am. Shit.
Niko, right?
Yeah, Niko House. Let everybody know where they can find you and where they can, check out what you're doing.
Wait, what was Keanu Reeves' character in the Matrix? Neo. Not Niko. Sorry.
Neo.
Yeah, he's in the Matrix. Niko House.
He was in the Matrix and out the Matrix and of the Matrix and was the Matrix. That was a Hey, if y'all haven't gone back and watched the Matrix sometime, I suggest you go back and
I did recently.
It's a documentary.
Yeah, it's a fucking masterpiece, actually. Yeah. Especially like the storytelling and all that. Like if you actually pay attention to the theme, this is a really good movie. But anyway, you can find me on Twitter at Real Niko House, Instagram at Real Niko House, on YouTube. You can watch my Show for the People podcast. Also follow us on Hotspot. At Hotspot on Twitter. They deleted us off of Facebook and Instagram, so we're not there no more.
Really?
Yeah, they got us, bro.
Welcome
I was hurt.
It's
hurt, bro. We hit 200,000 on Instagram, and they yanked us. Yeah, bro. Hurt.
Terrible. That we should.
Yeah, man. That's what they do.
We need transparency, right? We need this more than anything. I mean, if we don't ever get it, forget about it.
Yeah, they didn't even give us a real reason. They were just like, yeah, it was like you violated some community guidelines. They selected some random video from like months and months before that moment and yanked us.
Yeah.
But it was probably because about like we had a couple videos about Gaza go viral again, and that was probably the reason why.
Are you guys on TikTok?
It took us off TikTok.
Yeah,
we were on TikTok.
TikTok's the worst. So
TikTok got worse than Instagram.
Yeah.
TikTok
they're so afraid that they're going to get pulled, so they listen to the government on everything. So, Niko House, everybody, we love you. Come back and see us again soon. It was an interesting night last night. We'll be talking to you in the future.
For sure, man. Appreciate you guys.
We love you.
Bye, Niko. So, fam,
do you know who the original casted Neo was for the movie?
No.
It was Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee's son, but then he died in The Crow, and they
Oh.
casted Keanu Reeves after.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah.
Huh.
He got killed in The Crow. Brandon Lee.
Brandon Lee.
Yeah. So there was a scene where they were shooting at him, and somebody took a blanks out and put real bullets in.
Yeah. I know he died. Do you
shot.
know the sacrilege that happened is they redid The Crow?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
I won't.
I don't know.
I refuse to play.
I have to see it because I have to see what they did with it. But yeah, that's so fams, we have basically started this shift, right, with Truthwire, and it's going to be called Truthwire, but it's essentially we're going to do a couple things a little bit more differently since we're not together on a couch anymore.
Yeah.
It's going to be different, but it's going to be very much focused on, once again, talking about specific talking points and going, of course, beyond the usual narrative, because as all of you have seen, right, it's become very tribal. More tribal than before, I think. And with Donald Trump's victory, you're going to see a lot of the same type of language, like, oh, you know, we won, globalists are gone, that's it. And what we saw with liberals going to brunch, I think we're going to see it, unfortunately, with some on the right going to not brunch. What do they go to?
Brunch.
Well, it's a different brunch. It's not the same type of brunch, because you do have a different, you know, you have the wealthy people that support Trump, but then you have the majority of the Trump supporters, which are blue collar working Americans, which is why a lot of people, if you see middle America, it's all red. The only reason Kamala even had that high of a chance was California, New York, and these very populated states that gave her all these electoral votes. But if you take into account the majority of the United States, the majority of the United States are entirely red. And it's not because they love Kamala or Donald Trump as much as I think as what he represents for the average, especially white, blue collar, working class American. However, the danger that we see in all of that is the shifting of the focus into the other, which has continued. With the Democrats, it's Russia, right? Russians are going to blow up our polling stations. Russians are going to invade us.
In Georgia.
They're going to spread. Yeah, in Georgia. While we're interfering in Moldova, by the way. But with the Republicans, you see the focus shift back to immigrants, to Muslims, to these so-called terrorists that are coming in. And Trump has used that rhetoric. I mean, he has, and then he changes it, and then he goes back to the rhetoric, and then he changes it. He has been largely anti-China. And so what I think people need to watch out for is to not let their guard down and really see what is next here in the terms of the theater and where the theater is going to next. Because if tomorrow Trump, you know, or not tomorrow, in January, when Trump decides to come in and Zelensky, you know, is shivering because he's afraid all his funding is going to go. If he actually does that, that's going to be predictable, because that's what we have been saying he would do. That's the one thing he would do. But the other side is the shifting towards Iran. And it's going to be very difficult, even if Trump had all the intention, which I think Niko is right in this sense. I think he's going to go where his base goes, and his base is largely full of people who you really, you know, are anti-Muslim and are
anti-immigrant. They're xenophobic
in general. And if that's the case, then we're going to see the theater shift to Iran and to Asia, and we're talking about China. And right now, I don't know if y'all noticed, but if we can pull up, fam, what I put up, the war is going to continue, because we have the scenes in northern Israel. Okay, is it playing?
Share that tab.
Okay.
And go ahead and put that up there, Jayme.
So this is Hezbollah. Hezbollah has gone after northern Israel, right? We're talking about the election happening. And while this election was happening, the genocide has continued in Gaza. Hezbollah is still at war with Israel, protecting, you know, and I've interviewed several people who are Lebanese, Christian Lebanese and Muslim Lebanese, and they have said, you know, this isn't even about Hezbollah as much as it is about Palestine and about what's happening in Gaza. That has continued. We're going to see the continuation of everything that's been happening. It's not going to just go away magically. And that's part of my point, Pasa, is that I think people think that, okay, that's it. And it's over. And, you know, oh, Democrats, they suck. This all happened under Democrats, but it could have well easily happened under Republicans. It's just the luck of the draw. As we said, there were some good things that happened under Trump in terms of the economy, but they didn't necessarily happen because Donald Trump was there. It just kind of sort of came and went. So I'm not as optimistic as a lot of people here. I do think it was a mandate, like this man said. I do think there was a reaction by the average American that is sick and tired of all of these things that we've talked about. But I also don't think that this is the solution, that the solution is to go to the other side of the coin. I do think that people are latching onto this idea, but if you have gone outside, if you have gone to all of these countries that I'm talking about, whether it's Russia or Lebanon or all, Iran, the perspective there is different. The perspective there is, we don't care which one of your presidents you have. We know that they're still going to come after us. We know that they're still going to destroy us, and we know they're still going to commit genocide. And I want to emphasize that point to all of you, because you need to understand that despite the very good reasons you may think in the perspective you have in voting against Kamala Harris, which I understand, it's not going to be a solution. What we're seeing here is you're responding to the symptom of the very big problem that is the actual establishment, the actual military industrial surveillance state that we have in the United States that is so powerful that we can't seem to get out of this uniparty, that we can't seem to go about it, and that we keep repeating the same electoral mistakes time and time again. And what is the solution to that? What is it going to be? Well, the solution isn't going to be 4 years from now, go vote Democrat after Trump does whatever he does, but that's what they're going to tell you.
Yeah.
And we don't have to be geniuses to predict that.
And that's exactly what they're going to move us into.
Yeah.
I think to save the Democratic Party, it was good for them to lose. They can campaign off this. They can raise money right now. They can highlight a lot of Trump's bad positions. Unfortunately, it seems like we're going to have the non-nuanced approach from the mainstream media as normal. They're going to still go after Donald Trump. He's a racist, misogynist, he's this and that. There are some things that are very true to that. I think he's very xenophobic. His rhetoric when it comes to Latin American. I think that, whether you're talking to a conservative or a liberal or somebody who's on the right or the right or the left, we have to make sure we have nuanced approach to this. And there are concerns for each people. The other day when we were on the radio station last night, there was a Republican on, a libertarian who was right-leaning, and I wanted to question him on CBDCs, on the deep state, right, the free speech, him saying that he wants to burn the flag, put somebody in prison for a year to burn the flag. But if I was speaking to a leftist, right, and they were saying, hey, Donald Trump wants to grab him, and you know what, I'd say, shut up about that. What about his energy and his actions towards the immigrants? He said he was going to deport a bunch of immigrants. Is he going to do that? Or is he going to just rebuild the wall a little bit and give them that little red meat and go on to something else? You know what I'm saying? We have to have a nuanced approach, and we can't get caught back into that whole hamster wheel of just saying the way to get rid of the problems of the United States is to vote out Donald Trump. They were very successful, the ruling class, of taking the Iraq war as an anti-imperialist approach, and the ruling class somehow took it and spun it. It was spun to make it George Bush's war. They made it a partisan issue when it happened. It was an empire issue. We got to make sure they don't do that again, fam, because that's what they're going to attempt to do tomorrow. Today, they're attempting to do that. Right. Exactly.
It was George Bush's war, as was advertised. It was the United States' war, because those wars continued with Barack Obama, who took us from 2 to 7 wars and in 7 countries in 5 years. And so that is largely forgotten. People need to stop thinking that all of this is just one administration and then the other administration just magically shifts. No, these things are planned long ahead. Everything you see in media and everything you see in government, once it's displayed to you, has already been planned and checked. So the fact that Donald Trump was allowed to have a comeback and win, to me, means he is not the threat to the establishment, and perhaps he's being used as a way to usher in all of this surveillance state that you're talking about, and also to justify much of the incoming things that are yet to come. And I believe that we are actually inching ever closer to a nuclear war. I don't believe that one person, whether Trump has the intentions or not, can stop what's happening because these are people that are the deep state. You're talking about people actually with the actual power. We know that presidents don't run the country, and if you still think presidents run the country, I find that very naive. In the United States, at least, I'm specifically talking about the United States, not any other country. And if Trump, even if Trump had the will to do that, it's not going to happen. And so even if you go back and say, well, Trump was playing 5D chess, which is what a lot of his supporters think, that, he's just saying he's going to go after Iran, but really he's going to stop all wars and do all this. Even if that were true, which I don't think is true, he wouldn't be able to do it, because presidents are largely just presenters for the American image. They're not really the ones who hold power. Do you think Joe Biden had any sort of power other than eating ice cream? I think that was his superpower.
Listen up, corn pop.
I can relate to ice cream because I love ice cream, but
not as much as Joe Biden.
Not as much as Joe Biden. I think he has me on that one.
Yeah. Well, I have a hard time too as well. Jayme, can you find real quick the Muslim endorsement in Michigan for Donald Trump? It'll probably be on Twitter. It'll probably be an easy find. But what do you say to people? Okay, listen, these are actual people who, listen, there are opportunists on every level and every color, shapes, and sizes. I get that. But these are still Muslim people saying, I'd rather take a shot with Donald Trump than stick with the status quo right now, what we have right now. How do you push back against that? I mean, that endorsement, that was like crazy when I saw that too as well. Did you see it on Michigan? I'm going to make 2 predictions. One, that the Detroit Lions will win the Super Bowl. And it went crazy. And the second is that Donald Trump will be the 47th president of the United States. And these are Muslim people. Now, I'm sure they're careerist, right? Is that the word? Careerist of sorts on every level, every different religion, shapes, and sizes, like we said. But they are still Muslim people from that region who say they want to take a shot with Donald Trump. It's hard for me as a white man in this country to say, nah, you don't want that. I mean, it's hard to convince people. And we did see that. We saw a lot of people in different regions. I mean, I saw people who had Twitters from Yemen saying, elect Donald Trump. From Yemen.
Yeah, but a lot of people are also like jumping on the bandwagon of like anything but the current administration, because that's just a natural human reaction for the average non-political person. Look what Kamala has done, and look what maybe if we just stick Trump there, and that's and also we talk about Arabs and Muslims, there's a separation there. Not every Arab is Muslim. There's Shia and Sunni. There's also Christian Arabs, and we can see which Arab nations are betraying Palestine, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Egypt, Jordan. They're all allowing Israel to do what it's done. They're facilitating Israel to do what it's doing. So you can't just equate and say, well, Arabs support Trump. Well, a lot of these Arabs don't like Hamas. A lot of these Arabs don't like Hezbollah. Yeah. So there's also different, it's not as simple in black and white. There's nuance, and people don't like nuance on the internet. People like to be told just the easiest explanation, but we have to talk about nuance, and that's our job, is to sift through this nuance. Did you want to show that really quick?
Well, he didn't have the video. He had the article, but that's enough, I think, to show there. Jayme, is your internet good?
Yeah, it's good. I'm still looking for that video. It's been a while, so I don't know where it is.
Okay, no problem. Oh, I see. You can put that up. Kamala concession speech in an hour. You don't have to necessarily find it. You found the article. He said it. I think a lot of people saw it. It just puts us, me in a little quagmire too as well, to push back against certain people. It usually, once again, it's taking the nuanced, smart approach. Well, that's cool that you think that Donald Trump is great, but I don't want him wasting our money. It's not just your country he's bombing. He's also involved with the empire in Russia and Ukraine, in Latin America. So if you want to have that decision, that's cool. But I have reasons to vote against him, because it's not just what he's doing in the Middle East. It's what he's doing elsewhere.
Well, and it's also, you have to think about where they come from. They've been living in the United States. If these are voters, then they're not living in these regions. It's a completely different sentiment from people who are living there and who are actually in the thick of it. And the overwhelming position of a lot of these people is actually anti-Trump because of what he did in Syria, because of what he did in Iran. Even though maybe he didn't make the call, it doesn't matter. Like, he's still looked on as somebody that did that. And again, like, presidents changed, our foreign policy doesn't. I have never seen our foreign policy change greatly from president to president. When we talk about the change, border, perhaps when we talk about the change, LGBTQ, trans, that the abortion, all of these social changes that liberals vote on. They literally vote on these issues, and that's it. They don't care about foreign policy, and that goes for progressives too. But people need to start maybe paying attention. And I think this is sort of a wake-up call, I think, to some people, like, because believe it or not, some people are asking me, like, how did Kamala lose? And I'm like, are you serious?
Who asked you that?
Friends that are surrounded by Kamala Harris supporters.
Wow.
And they say, I thought everybody liked Kamala Harris.
No.
I'm like, are you kidding me? I haven't met a single Kamala Harris supporter, but I'm in a different, avenue. I'm in a different
Fam,
group.
that's not an excuse. They should know. They should watch the Convo Couch and saw you did a video a long time ago laying out why it's not good. This is when she ran in the
2020 primary.
In the primary, where she didn't win one single delegate in California. People are like, well, she dropped out before California. The mail-in ballots were mailed out a month ago. So people had already filled out the ballot and sent it in. They probably saw those, looked at those and said, yeah, tell Kamala to drop out right now before she embarrasses herself. So at least we can present the image that she didn't get any delegates because she dropped out before Super Tuesday, that primary. No. You were that disliked.
Well, there's a difference into what is and a difference into how people perceive things. From people's perception, Kamala is extremely, extremely popular. If they live in a liberal circle that is full of people who have college degrees, people who are in, making money or a certain amount of money at a certain bracket. And if you're with these people, they tend to vote liberal. And then if you're with the other side, the elite business people that are, Trump's people, or with the middle working class of the average blue collar worker, then you're going to see an opposite thing. But overall, I saw Kamala as a hugely unpopular candidate, but still people had a hard time making the decision. And at least here in Florida and in California, of course, you're going to have more of that experience of the liberal, like Matt said yesterday, right? But I still think that we need to, us as people that study elections, we need to become extremely cognizant in how people perceive these things and also what is, and trying to explain to them the reality and their perception are two different things.
Yeah.
I found the video. You want to still show it?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's show it.
And I think also Kamala has given her concessions.
Yeah, we put it up.
That. Yeah. And do you want to share that too?
Well, that's not on until 4:00.
Oh, it's not. Oh, okay.
I think it's in the hour. And they can wait on. We'll be gray by waiting for her to come on the stage. She's going to take a long time.
All right. Well, I believe this is the part where the Madison Square Garden, where the Muslims came on.
This is Michigan. This is Michigan.
Oh, was this in Michigan? Oh, okay.
But this was big. This is big because he won Michigan.
All right.
He won Michigan. So
here we go.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Michiganders. As the president said, we just had a positive meeting with President Trump. We as Muslims stand with President Trump because he promises peace. He promises peace, not war. We are supporting Donald Trump because he promised to end war in the Middle East and Ukraine. The bloodshed has to stop all over the world. And I think this man can make that happen. I personally believe that God saved his life twice for a reason.
We're just playing into that.
I believe personally that God has saved his life for a reason, which is to save the lives of others. We support Donald J. Trump for his commitment to promoting family values and protecting our children's well-being especially when it comes to curriculums and schools. We as Muslims support this man because we believe that he will be a president for all Americans, embracing every race, color, and religion. We are with President Trump because we want a strong border. And we agree with President Trump that anyone who wants to come to this country is welcome, but he has to do that through legal pathway. We are with President Trump because we want a strong economy. Don't you want that? We are with President Trump to make America great again through peace and justice for all. Lastly, Michiganders, I have 2 predictions for you for the next 6 months. Are you ready? Number 1, the Detroit Lions will win the Super Bowl.
Is that what you're rooting for?
No,
Oh, okay.
you kind of.
Ready for the
They
second
were the underdog,
prediction?
so kind of root for them.
I can't hear you. Are you ready? The second prediction is Donald J. Trump will be the 47th president of the United States of America.
So, a couple things. I want to throw it to you, but
Yeah.
I just want to say a couple things.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
These guys are making a huge gamble in supporting Trump, but the payoff is it might force Trump to have to rethink anything like another Muslim ban. Now he won because he got support like this from these people in a state like Michigan. Now he needs to pay him back, and if he's gonna be a good politician, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Quid pro quo. So these people are playing a big gamble and thinking that Trump will have their back since they had his. And the payoff could be huge for the Muslim community. But this is Trump, so we don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah, he could just do what I think
see
he's
what
going to
he's
do to
gonna
RFK and what he's going to do to Tulsi. I got the votes. See ya.
got
Sayonara.
it.
He doesn't have to do that to
Yeah.
Tulsi because she actually is in line with him, though. I don't think he's going to necessarily have to do
Yeah.
that to her.
Well, we'll see if he keeps these people on or not. But this campaign, this administration can go in several different directions.
Yeah.
And it could. I'm going to wait and see. I'm not going to prejudge it, but we're watching what he's doing with the history of knowing what he was before when he was president for 4 years.
Yeah.
And that wasn't very good.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Thank you for the analysis, Jayme. Good
All right.
stuff. Look at that.
So
You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, buddy. I love it.
I just want to
Right.
say a couple things here. These people were probably not necessarily hugely Muslim. They were probably not. They're Arab Americans. They're describing themselves. They're not necessarily. It could be Christian. They could be all sorts. They could not be
Muslim
religious.
Americans.
They could be religious.
Right. Muslim Americans. Is that a proper term? I know American.
No.
yeah.
He said Arab Americans. So it's different. There's a difference. Not everybody is Muslim who is Arab. People need to understand that. There's a lot of Christians. There's a lot of Anyway, so I think that you can't take too much stock in this. Obviously, I do think it helped drive a certain point in Michigan and Pennsylvania and these areas where he won that could have easily gone to a Democrat. But he said, Trump will bring peace in the region. How can we legitimately say that Trump will bring peace in the region when he has been literally praying or not praying, doing whatever with a rabbi by the Wailing Wall, when he has, taken on this mantle of standing by Israel, of supporting Judaism, when he is funded by Adelson? Why would Adelson and AIPAC fund Donald Trump if they thought they were going to betray him? Trump is going to play the same, perhaps, two-state solution. But Trump has been pro-expanding Greater Israel. He has been going after Syria's oil fields. He's going to continue doing that. He's going to continue. I don't see how he wouldn't when the majority of his money is coming from these Zionists. So money talks, and he's a businessman. He's going to do that. So I think this is just more par for the course. This is more of just giving people, these sound bites of going after this group more intelligently than Kamala did, right? Much more intelligently. He did what she failed to do. That's fine. But you have to consider the courting Muslim Americans is completely different than trying to end a war with people from another country who don't consider themselves American, who are Lebanese, who are Syrian, who are, Iranian. They don't care. They don't see Trump as a win. They see him as just another stooge of the empire, the great Satan and little Satan, Israel. And that's how they see things. This isn't going to change that perspective. You can't just equate and say this is, but who is Trump talking to? Trump is talking to Americans. So his message is tailored to these Americans who have a completely different identity. The same way, Mexican Americans or Latin Americans or Black Americans are voting for Trump, while others in the global South see him in a very negative way. And you can talk about that because we've been there. They may have conservative values in the global South, but they still don't like Donald Trump. They still don't like him at all. And so
they see the empire clearly, right? Like they understand what it is. They understand it's just another person, just another talking head that the military industrial complex, along with the CIA, they're running things down in Latin America. And to be honest with you, fam, too, as well, when I see this and I see people talking about Donald Trump being the peacemaker, the most kitty cat president ever, the most dove president ever, is still probably one of the most fascist, warmongering head of state on the planet, simply from the United States position of where they look at the world stage and where they are. 1,000 bases worldwide. So when I hear these things, I say, man, the bar is set kind of low. You know what I'm saying? They think that Donald Trump, once again, is the peace candidate. I mean, it's mind-boggling. And I will say this again. Anybody who took the presidency, the most dovish president ever, is still probably one of the biggest warmongers, heads of state around the world. And a lot of people realize that,
Or he wouldn't be president. He wouldn't be president, guys. The very fact that Donald Trump was president and then was allowed to come back and be president tells you everything you need to know. Think about it. If we're talking about the deep state, do you think they're just going to go away because Trump became president? That is a fantasy. That's not how it happens.
I'll be your JD Vance. Let's do this.
Fam, I can't.
I'll be your Tim Walz. Since it's a guy-girl combination. So I got your back. Let's go.
So, no, I won't, friendly, but you can just mail it. I can give you my address. Just email me.
No, the Cackerstocracy, right? That one, I think so. I have a copy for you that you sent me. I have to give it to her.
If you have the copy,
yes,
I will take
it. I have the copy.
Okay.
So because I've been putting it aside, waiting to give it to you, and it's in my sister's car.
Okay.
So yeah, I have that book. Unless it's another one. Did you write another book in between then and now, Ruth? Crazy. Love you.
I think it's a new book. It sounds like it's a new book.
Yeah, but I got a book from her less than a year ago.
Well, she's writing books.
Well, this is a second one.
Is it a different one?
It says a new book. My new book will be out in print in a couple weeks.
Okay, yeah. So give me.
I have the other one.
And I'll give you my email. Email me, so I will give you my address, and you can send it there.
I wanted Ruth to come meet me at the third-party debate. I wish she could have, but we'll see each other again soon, my dear.
She's written 3.
Yeah. Yes. There.
Yes, Pasta. Get with the program here.
Yes.
We don't want to wait till Kamala, right? We just want to...
No way we're waiting to Kamala because she's supposed to come on in 45 minutes, and we're waiting for an hour.
She didn't wait for us, so for anybody, not that we supported her, but she didn't wait. She went home. She didn't face the public. That's a slap in the face to her supporters. I almost feel bad to her supporters, just like we're not going to show up.
By the way, Crow asked earlier. Friendly Brilliant just made a point about donations and stuff. Yes, you can still go to the same Patreon. The Patreon still comes to us. We still share the Patreon. Yeah. We still share the money on Rockfin. We don't know how long it's going to go, but that money still comes to us. And then we make sure that it's not a lot where we need some help right now. We understand that, we've had other jobs and other things, situations, and we haven't been able to pay as much attention to the Convo Couch, obviously, beyond headlines, which is some amazing work you're doing over there. So yes, when you send us a donation, when you send us a Patreon, even though it's the Convo Couch Patreon, we still get it. A lot of people were concerned about the Rockfin. We still be getting Rockfin, but I would say if you can, take out of Rockfin, go over to Patreon for now until we figure some stuff out. Maybe we get some gives and goes working.
There's a lot of problems with Rockfin.
We just
right now,
we don't know if we're getting everything there. I mean, I can look at some of the monthly subscribers, and we get the majority of that, but the donations and stuff, I'm going back and checking, and it's just this metric we can't really track properly because it's like a money from what do you call it? What's our currency called again?
Ethereum.
No, not the. What's the name of our currency? The American currency. What do you call it? A fiat currency? It goes from fiat to crypto. Thank you, my Lord. Help me out, Ruth. It goes from fiat to crypto. So there's a hard kind of way of trying to figure that out. Obviously, like I said, we haven't been going as much. Yesterday was our first show in a couple weeks. So we understand that, we're going to try to ratchet up the content moving forward. We went to Truthwire since we're not together on the couch, but we're going to still be hanging out, doing some stuff as much as we can, collaborating when we can. I've been doing the WBAI thing. I'm trying to do more of that. I was trying to do more of Sputnik, but they got sanctioned out. So we'll see what the future holds for us. But me and Fam are cool. Anything you send us, the Patreon-wise, it goes into our account, splits, that sort of thing. And if you send a donation, we put it in the account, and we do what we got to do with it.
And
so,
and we're going to be switching everything
You're good,
on
Crow.
the Patreon and all this other stuff. So don't worry about that. And I mean, it's been an interesting election. I didn't really think. I thought maybe if Donald Trump lost, there would be more action. But since Kamala lost, I think a lot of people are going to be like, okay, it's fine. And Trumpers are celebrating. They're not going to, raid the Capitol. And liberals are certainly not going to do that because they don't have the balls to do it or the ovaries to do it. Neither do progressives. And a lot of these people that hate Donald Trump so much and are scared of him because he's apparently Hitler. I don't think we're going to see any of that this time around, fortunately. But in another way, it's more of like, are people just not going to look at what he's doing now, right? And he's becoming this sort of martyr type of figure that I think is dangerous and that America loves. America loves a good, narcissistic politician. And we have a lot of those in politics. In fact, that's mostly all the people in politics and most people in journalism as well. And I think that in media, independent media, you should be careful to not jump into supporting two sides of the same coin. And I've unfortunately seen a lot of people in independent media swallow the Trump pill and start, pushing Trump as if he is something that's worthwhile. And he's not. I mean, is he better than Biden? We'll see. We'll see what happens, going forward. But we've already had Trump and he wasn't all that great, as Pasta said. So I don't really see how you could push that. And I also think it's American exceptionalism because once again, we're still under Zionist entity. Netanyahu won all of the electoral votes. He won. So, I mean, at the end of the day, will much change to the rest of the world? I don't think so.
No, they didn't. They pushed Jill Stein. So did RBN.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. This person right here.
Okay.
Because you said something about independent media and all that stuff. They pushed Jill Stein. So
yeah. I mean, and I don't really have a problem with people pushing third parties. But Jill Stein, she's not that great on Israel-Palestine. By the way, she was giving accolades to Israel, and that's why I didn't vote for her. She was also terrible on Syria. She gave an answer about Assad being a dictator. I take those things very seriously. For me, it's more about foreign policy because domestic policy is a result of our foreign policy, and that's as simple for me as it is, and I don't want a healthcare for all, and I don't want all of these things under this type of system because it's going to be an impossibility. I think we really need to get the rot out of our system, and so I didn't support any of these people. I wrote in some fun names.
I did ask Jill Stein about her comments to Cynthia McKinney calling her an anti-Semite. She said that was fake. They said it was AI generated, her and Jason Call.
Really?
Jason Call was her campaign manager. Me and Jason, we had like a love moment. We made up for knocking heads. He goes, is everything cool with us? I'm like,
got out of the Democratic Party.
I'm like, I'm cool. But but still, I don't like to use the word. I don't know the word I can use to replace it. The Green Party is a woke party. It is. They care more about culture war BS than they do about actual populist messages. There's no populist message there. They still haven't addressed a lot of that. Jill Stein didn't have a primary, didn't address the fact that the steering committee threw the Black Caucus under the bus when it came to mandates. They were pro mandates, pro Howie Hawkins stuff. She tried to separate herself, but I mean, there was corruption in that primary that Howie Hawkins had. You have to address that. You didn't even have a primary this time. And people like Ian Schlockman came on the show and talked about it. Ian said, this is about making money. You're going to get a couple $1 million for running for president. And that's what Jill Stein did. So, I mean, that's,
but on the other side of the coin, you also have the hyper focusing on the woke stuff. To me, is a lost cause too. It's like, yeah, you're gonna have, and I hate using the word, but we, what we're talking about, these social
justice.
It's not even like I'm not against social justice. But at the same time, it's like having no economic backing on that social justice is just ridiculous. It's dumb. You're never going to achieve any of these things. And it's some of these things I don't agree with the way they're being promoted and propagandized and all of that stuff myself personally. And then on the other end, though, you have the hyper focusing on it by the right, by the Republicans, just, what, 1% of the population, 2% of the population. I just, to me, it's ridiculous. The whole issue when it comes to trans stuff, like, it affects such a small percentage of the population that I really don't care how much you're like battling it out. To me, it's a very privileged issue to be crying about, because to be honest, when you've seen destruction, when you've seen bombs, and when you've seen dead bodies, and when you've seen the reality of U.S. empire, our literal bombs with our names in other countries, then you start understanding that, I'm sorry, a lot of the issues that both these liberals and these conservatives that are fighting about, they're relevant. I mean, if you want to talk about babies and children and all of these things, we're killing them. Our bombs are killing them. You aren't necessarily, but our government is doing it in our name. And so I get really worked up about that, because it is a very American exceptionalist position. It is a very America, we don't care about all of that. And what I found America first to mean is not America first. I found it to mean American empire first and wars first. And that none of that. You're not even reaping the benefits of all of these wars either. Not that it would be okay if you did, but you're not. So to me, it's just kind of like a moot point when we talk about that stuff.
And you made a very interesting point. It is kind of a privileged position. And listen, I understand the thought process that we should treat everybody with love and respect. Like, back in the days, we were talking about even the political parties. We were talking about why did the LaRouches and the communists hate each other? Because they're holding on to the past, where everybody was beating the shit out of each other in the streets. But that was in the 1960s. It's 2024. You know what I'm saying? It's not the biggest issue out there. And I just think at times the Green Party wants to put it front and center. They want to make sure that that's their ideology, right? It's about supporting the brothers
the
and
vice
sisters.
president, whatever. He was.
Well, Butch Ware too, in his comments about the Uyghurs, and then doubling down when he got questioned about it. It was like really, and I asked Jill Stein that. But in Chicago, with the DNC convention, they rented out a church and they made sure to change the bathrooms to non-gender bathrooms and stuff. I mean, listen, I once again, I understand the point you're trying to make, that we should treat everybody with love and respect. But when you take a church and you start changing stuff, that's going to turn off a lot of people in the populist. They're not going to want to vote for you for that, simply because you put that front and center. So, I mean, it is a quagmire of sorts for you. And I felt like Jill Stein was walking that tightrope when it came to COVID, when it came to the LGBTQIA, issues. She was walking a tightrope because she didn't want to talk about that, and then against that, because that would cost her base. And she's got a very small base. She's getting nothing outside her base. But that's the thing. That's why I never thought it was a serious campaign to begin with, even though the last debate she had a great debate. You know what I'm saying? In California. And I told her, you hit it out of the park. But some of the questions I gave her, and I didn't push back too much because I want to get through a few questions. I asked her, I said, if you're a doctor, would you recommend the shot today? She didn't answer it straight up. I wanted a hell no. No way. I wouldn't recommend that shot. That's under emergency use authorization. You still can't sue them. There's no liability. We shouldn't be able to push these. The government shouldn't be protecting big pharma. It should be protecting you.
Should be an easy answer,
but she couldn't. Yeah. And she pivoted to and
and if you also notice who came to support Jill Stein this year, I supported her 8 years ago, by the way. I supported Jill Stein 8 years ago. Okay, that was 8 years ago. We're here. It's 2024. And so to me, it's like, and when I supported Jill Stein 8 years ago, the same people who are supporting her now, what did they do? They supported the Democratic Party. when I decided to vote, I forget who I voted for in 2020, but it was a third party candidate. When I decided to do that, what were they doing? They were still supporting Joe Biden. And a lot of these people, the Breonna George Grays, the Katie Halper, all those people, that's what they do. They come late, and they came in late this time around. And, it took them 8 years to finally go and support Jill Stein and to come out. So for me, this is like delayed. You all should have been doing that 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't have time for this, for you to come around. I'm sorry. You guys should know better. You're in media. You should know better. I have more sympathy for the average American person that's overworked and underpaid and has all of this on top of them that don't have the time to have these conversations or watch these shows. To a degree, I have sympathy. That sympathy is growing less and less because there's the internet and there's ways for you to get the information. However, I know the censorship battle many of you are fighting. RT was taken off everywhere. Sputnik was closed down. We're fighting here. We're on the front lines trying to fight this for you guys because we are censored all the time. We know. I mean, I've had my YouTube channel taken down so many times. Well, any affiliated channel. And so for me, it's kind of like, when people say they're so super censored and they're not, I just laugh because, it's a whole thing. But I just think that, when it comes to this idea of third parties, that opportunity was there 8 years ago when Bernie Sanders got cheated. And there should have been a movement then to make that happen. And there wasn't. And it has just gotten worse since. Overall, I think people are more aware, but overall, people haven't done anything about it. They just think that voting every 4 years is the answer. And here we are again. And 4 years from now, it'll be the same thing. I don't have faith that people will see it 4 years from now.
So it says the Green Party infights too much. So does the Libertarian Party. I mean,
so
all
the Democrats.
It's just
the Republicans.
It's at the end. Well, the thing is that the Democrats and the Republicans, the establishment, at the end of the day, get their way. Somebody was saying on the show I did this morning, I did Manila Chan and Ted Rawls' new show because they had to start their new show because once again they pulled the plug on Sputnik out of the blue. And the people like Fiorella and Manila Chan, Rachel Blevins, Mark Sloboda, Malik Abdul, who's on the show today, Jamal, Garland Nixon, Dr. Wilmer Leone. I don't want to leave anybody out, but all these people, Caleb Maupin, they wore that RT banner on the name. They didn't hide behind anything. Money was funneled, right? Supposedly, allegedly, we don't know for sure. Money was funneled to a bunch of donkeys who would never ever wear that RT banner, right? And they were able to suck up the oxygen. Well, whether that was true or not, the State Department used it as an excuse to shut these people down. They paid for the other sins of other people. These people, the real journalists, right? And most of these journalists that we're talking about, they're not pro-Russia. They're just anti-war. They're anti-imperialism. You know what I'm saying? Fee, have you gotten instructions from Putin of what you can and what you cannot say?
Yeah, he calls me every single day.
And you could tell that was very serious sarcasm over there. They don't get told what to do and what not to do. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, this is not like they're shutting down propaganda. And too many people just say, well, they are Russian propaganda. We should shut them down. That's ridiculous that you swallowed that pill, right? And this is something I have a problem with Donald Trump. I haven't heard Donald Trump talk about all journalists getting censored and shut down, or this journalists that have been getting killed on a regular basis in Israel.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And that's why he was able to be duped by Mike Pompeo, who he's been running around with now. He's saying he's a good guy. Was duped into trying to kill Julian Assange. This was a bad mistake. And what makes you think it's going to change? And Donald Trump used WikiLeaks all the time. WikiLeaks. I love WikiLeaks. And then when he's asked when he's president, I really don't know about WikiLeaks. What is WikiLeaks? Yeah. I mean, this is a big concern. We shouldn't let it happen again. That's why common sense criticism moving forward is going to be the number one job for independent journalists out there who really want to do real journalism,
and beyond, and adding context and adding actual facts, understanding the other perspectives from the region, not just having the same 8 people on your show talking the same message over and over again. Diversify. I try to interview different people that nobody has on because I get like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to feature the same popular person every single time because they've already said a lot of things. You know what I mean? Like some of these people I really like. And that's fine, but it's good to open up. I think independent media is falling, a little bit towards trying to be and kind of just what's the word I'm looking for? to replace mainstream media. A lot of them are doing the same thing that mainstream media does. And with Elon Musk trying to say that, X is now the independent media, it's not. I mean, he promotes certain channels, and he
was
shadow
promoting
bans
Trump.
and
He was a partisan.
Yeah.
I mean, it
he
went from
can't- he
Donald Trump was being censored.
But he censors people
unjustly.
on X.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
look at Garland Nixon's lawsuit, and look at other people and that have been censored by Elon Musk, you know, and myself. I mean, I'm so shadow banned, it's insane there.
And then people were like, "Oh, Elon probably doesn't know about the Garland situation." Yeah, but he knows about Benny Johnson. He knows about Nick Sorter. He knows about Jack Posobiec. He knows about all the cheerleaders, the partisan cheerleaders, because they're not journalists; they're cheerleaders. I'm sorry, and this is something that we need transparency. We have to push for transparency. We need to see the algorithm, free open source. We need to see how certain channels are getting lifted and how others are getting demonetized, because they really can control the narrative that way if they do that. And they are doing that. It's something that Donald Trump himself is guilty of too as well, because his administration, when he was a president, they were contacting big tech too as well and getting them to censor certain things. Can't forget that. That was the Trump administration who did that just as much as the Democrats did too as well. So we have a lot of work to do, fam, but I think that's enough work for today. What do you think?
For you, I have to do a little bit more work.
Oh, you got to do some work.
Yeah.
It's a working girl over here.
I am.
I'm going to go in the pool.
Let's see. Okay.
That's my work.
It's okay.
I'm going to work on my cocktail. So listen, guys,
You
all
work
the
on your
ways.
tan. You're a little pale.
How am I going to get a tan out there? It's like a monsoon outside over there, for crying out loud. I'm not going in the pool.
You can still get tan when it's cloudy. By the way, you can still get sun damage.
Yeah.
So
by the way,
or your sunscreen.
This is something too as well. And just by the way the system is itself.
Yeah.
This didn't happen last time. Why did it happen this time?
Because it was allowed to happen, you guys.
It's kabuki theater.
It was allowed to happen.
It's kabuki theater.
You
hate using it.
I just say it was theater. It was
theater.
What say? I'm not going to censor you. Say what you want to say. But it was theater to me. It was theater, and we're going to see. And by the way, notice like a year from now, maybe 6 months, some of the things we're saying now, other people are going to start saying it. But just take down those notes as to who said it.
We were just talking about this. Why are certain people allowed to talk about certain things? For example, why were certain people allowed to talk about ivermectin, COVID, lockdowns? They could say the word, the shot, they can say jab. But when we said any of those words, people like us, people like Jason Burmis, right? We got shut down immediately. Why?
Because
why is
what
that?
What will destroy the establishment is people understanding the game at play, people understanding the nuance of things, people not jumping into the pro Democrat or pro Republican. That's what will destroy them. And the more you listen to tribal arguments, whether it's for a good cause or not, the more you still have people in control. So Elon Musk cheering for Donald Trump and saying, this is great and blah, blah, blah. And we're taking on the globalists. That message is that line in particular. The globalists, we're taking on the globalists. Look at and notice how that line is pretty much a mantra, the same way that the line of Donald Trump is a fascist, racist, sexist, misogynist has been repeated on CNN. That globalist line is a mantra of many people that say that Trump is going to save them. So notice the people that are doing that, and then notice the people that are actually trying to get to the bottom of the truth, which is why we call it Truthwire, because it's like we're trying to get into the nuance of things, because in nuance is where you find the truth, not in these sort of tribal reductionist arguments that aren't really, really getting into the nitty gritty of things. So, and
they really, what's the word? Accelerate. They lift up. They artificially
the algorithm.
The algorithms for the people who play tribal politics, right? You're pro right, you're pro left. You try to build a bridge between the left and right, and that's what I've been doing for quite some time. At least that's my whole thought process. Is let me have this nuanced conversations where the left and right can talk to each other. I've always been that person, right? That's my shtick. I was one of the first people to bring Jimmy Dorian to come. Hey, look at the libertarians over here. Max Blumenthal, come here. Let's talk to these libertarians. And they understood who they were from a certain extent. But I was like, it's a new dawn. It's a new day. The Mises Caucus is different. No, I got egg on my face because at the end of the day, I said yesterday to Clint Russell that I felt that they sabotaged Chase. I don't even remember
Liberty?
his name. Yeah.
That's an interesting name.
I said the libertarians they sabotaged Chase Oliver's campaign, and they're like, no, we didn't and stuff. I said, well, okay, maybe I shouldn't use the word sabotage if that's what you're saying, but at the same time, you're also saying that the Liberty Party Libertarian Party's dead. That's what Tom Luongo said. You're saying that if you guys can't deal with your own candidate because you have major differences and there's a civil war, then don't enter the party. The party's not ready to win. The party's ready to capitulate again and act like Donald Trump is something so different. And you can make that argument that he's different than a lot of the guys, but he's a lot more of the same.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just like, if you're not going to go and try to win. So, all right, I'm sorry, Angela McArdle, David Smith, Clint Russell. I'm sorry for saying that you sabotaged Chase Oliver's campaign. But if you didn't sabotage Chase Oliver's campaign, you're also saying that the Libertarian Party is not a party worth looking into because you're not willing to do what's necessary to win. That was an you can outreach party. You can recruit people. You could have used it as a recruitment tool. The same way Maj Touré recruited black people into the Libertarian Party, telling them, you can get off the Democratic plantation. You don't have to sit there anymore.
But pushing people back into the reins of the duopoly or the uniparty is not the right thing to do.
That's not what the third party is supposed to do.
I understand, the Hail Mary with Trump, but it's just not the right thing to do. And until third parties get their shit together, frankly, they're really going to be useless for you to vote for. I mean, honestly, I vote your conscience, but or don't. For me, it's at this point you shouldn't even vote.
Now the rift is worse than it can ever could be, right? It's the worst. It's in the Libertarian Party. Now the rift is stronger than it ever could be. And if you're saying you didn't sabotage the campaign, that it was worthy to vote for Donald Trump instead, because he's going to advance libertarian values, then that you're saying the libertarians can't advance libertarian values.
But what libertarian values? I thought they were anti-war. He's not anti-war. He's not anti-war. Is he gonna, he
doesn't want to kill the Fed.
He's giving you lip service.
He wants to censor. He said he's going to put people in jail for a year. Oh, he's just saying that. But if you're pro-Israel, right, you're going to be pro-censorship.
For a lot of people who are very strict on this Israel thing, a lot of people that I know that are journalists and have gone to the region, what Americans have done by voting for Donald Trump in spite of his Zionist position is unforgivable, and they think you're very dumb. And I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm just saying that's the perception. And I agree with it. I mean, I think it's very dumb to reward the duopoly, whether it's Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. I understand why people voted against Democrats. I get it, really, truly do. But this isn't limited to only Democrats. You'll see that these wars will continue with the Republican Party as they have always continued, because they're forever wars, and they're going to continue as long as the United States exists in the essence that it exists today. And until you understand and learn that you can't change that from the inside by having, this X figure go into it, etc., then the same thing will keep happening. It's this endless cycle, and it honestly feels like a fever dream nightmare every 4 years over and over.
Fred,
again.
You are wrong out of the gate. I covered the Libertarian Convention. Out of the gate, they were going after this guy, right? Before the convention even finished up, I was in a breakfast, me, Jayme, we were there. We were talking to these people. Out of the gate, they were going after him. They didn't want to support him. Sorry, I just want to take that off real quick. But out of the gate, they weren't ready to support him. I'm sorry.
Said, I didn't vote. I'm doing my part.
That's
good.
Daniel.
That's
Daniel is the one who, he tried to start the Socialist Caucus inside the Libertarian Party. That was Daniel, DC. You know what I'm saying? So that's my dog more than anything.
But here's the thing: the Green Party was divided. All these people were divided. Why don't all these people come together? The Libertarians, the Greens, the PSL, because they can't. They cannot for them, because eventually some of their own people vote Democrat or vote Republican. So again, we don't have a system that gives them a fair shake. We don't have their consistency. There's no unity. Until that happens, nothing will change. And that's what I see here, unfortunately, in the United States. I see things dwindling. I see things very much being in crisis. The cost of living here is insane. I mean, in Russia, it's different. Obviously, Russia has a different salary, different things. There's some good things about Russia, a lot of good things about Russia. They have their own problems too. I'm not saying it's a fantasy. I'm not a propagandist. I'm not going to tell you lies. I will never do that. But all in all, there seems to be more attention to the people there, more attention to the community as a whole that we lack in the United States, including healthcare, including education, including housing, and all these things that we don't have here. And we're talking about the first world country that we live in a country that came from the fall of the Soviet Union. And people still think that this is the best we can do. Vote in another president that failed in order to attack Kamala Harris. I just don't see that as a win myself, but I understand why people did it. And believe me, I'm a lot more empathetic than a lot of people who are sick and tired of the American empire and have really blame American people because they say you're complicit. They say you're complicit because you're not doing anything. And so, I'm getting to the point of understanding that that's actually true to a degree. We are complicit, and we need to be able to do something. But if we can't help ourselves, and directly attacking the establishment, attacking the beast has to come from us. Unless you want it to come from other countries, which it may very well happen, it should be coming from us doing the work.
Where's Jilly Love been? Is she okay? I haven't seen Jilly Love, guys. Let me know what's up with Jilly Love. You guys blocked my other account, La Señora Chamanik. That's what I'm saying. Maybe one of our moderators did. I did not. I didn't do anything. Nothing to you guys. All right, we're guys and gals.
We didn't
use the right pronouns.
I did this all the time. I called ladies guys because I usually, and so when I worked in restaurants, I had to remember ladies and gentlemen because it was improper to say guys, but I don't care about that.
Yeah. And DC says, guys, read the Libertarian Socialist Caucus of the Libertarian Platform and let me know your thoughts. I helped write some of the platform, which was voted on democratically. Yeah. I mean, dude, you're doing amazing work, and there's some people out there that still know you. Rockfin, Chris Leone, what's up, Chris Leone? We love you. It's going to be a rough 4 years for people such as myself. If they hated us, they will hate more. They'll hate us more than they're going to repeal all
inclusivity or wokeness targeting. Gay 1 out of 2.
Yeah.
Right. So there's excuses. Please, I'm not happy he won, but hypo-masculine douches are. I mean, I do think that he plays on that, right?
Yeah.
A lot of these people, and you've seen the grifters that play on this whole, I'm now a Christian, I'm now this, I'm not, and call everybody, the F word that's gay or whatever. I'm not for that. I mean, I'm not a bigot, and I will never be a bigot, but I do think there is an essence of the propaganda that the liberals have pushed that has literally just been absolutely insane. Like that
it's exploitation.
It's exploitation. There is a limit to what children should be exposed to, in my opinion, and parents should be deciding that. But if the government's going to come in for that, I think I have a problem with that. I do think Gen Z is a lot more liberal by nature, but I also think that they have grown up in a different way and been exposed to things. And I think we will lose them if we don't talk to them in a way that renders understanding. Because if you're going to talk down to people and just call them dumb, which is what every other generation did to us, millennials, the boomers, the way they talk to us, it's basically going to push them away. And so what I think we need to do is actually have conversations that aren't, rendered in, oh, you're just this, you're that, you're that. The people who push this sort of conflict and this rhetoric online are the people that want to keep us divided. No matter what they say or who they support, if they support Palestine one day, if they support Trump one day, or then another day they say no, they're anti-Trump, they're just, looking at whatever. I think that the genuine people who want to have these just hard, nuanced discussions are the people that really need to be listened to, but they're the people that are censored the most. So we're going to keep doing this. We're going to get our schedule together. We're going to keep talking about this stuff because it needs to be talked about, and we're going to do it in different ways to make it more easy for you to attain the information. Chase
Oliver was part of the LGBTQI community. And that's why I said that was outreach for the gay community, for libertarians, right? And they just let that fly. They just let that slip because they didn't like a lot of the things he stood on. Yeah. Oh, he's a leftist libertarian. Well, that's not left. That's a culture war, woke libertarian, if you want to say. But once again,
being gay doesn't mean that you're automatically a person that has all those same beliefs. It doesn't.
No.
And that it comes from both ends. They need to stop. Otherwise we're going to turn into a bunch of bigots too. I think there's a limit to how you go about these things, right? Again, it's just more divisive issues that we really shouldn't be discussing. We should be discussing the price of fucking eggs, the cost of milk. Like, this is what's going to get people on board. And everything else, I think, besides, allowing bigotry, because I don't agree with that, everything else is going to fall into place when you get people the means that they need. They'll get the education, they'll get the access, they'll be able to talk to each other, they'll be more calm. Yeah. But when you get people or prevent people from having a normal life where they don't have to worry about money, then they start worrying about dumb things, and they start worrying about what the other person's doing to them, and they don't grow their perspective. And that is ultimately what the status quo, the powers that be want. They want you to lash out on each other. And so again, here we go again.
All biases are hyper inflated during a time of economic crisis. That's just the way it goes. When there's an economic crisis, people are pitted against each other, because then they start looking across the street and say, that guy over there gets it better than me. Why, you know what I'm saying? Why is that person getting a handout? And they've tried to exploit this. The Republicans have exploited this, right? Like, you know, that guy over there, right? He's getting more than you. The immigrant's getting a handout and you don't get it, right? And he gets health care and he gets education for his kids, but you, the white uneducated man, get nothing.
Who's doing that? Even if that's true, it's not. But even if it's true, let's say it was true that they're giving immigrants all these things, right?
It's not true.
I know it's not true, but even if it were true, who's doing that? Are these people doing it? It's your government. Your own government is trying to do this to you, to piss you off instead, so your focus goes on these people instead of them. We need to focus everybody
on them.
And it's a very simple thing, but we can't seem to figure out how to do that, which is crazy.
So that's it, guys. All the links are down below the way to help out the Truthwire. Independent media is still rocking and rolling, even with the mad suppression. We have a hardcore suppression on YouTube. Now, like we said, we have to get more in the algorithm. We got to do more shows. We plan on doing that. We're going to try to work out a schedule where we can go at least once a week, and make things happen. Jayme, what do you got for us?
Well, I just want to say, since we're wrapping up the show, and we're rebranding things to Truthwire. So during the show, I actually changed the name from Combo Couch to Truthwire on Rockfin.
Yes.
And also set up the Truthwire channel on Rumble. So if you're watching us on Rumble, we got almost 40 people watching on Rumble. Click the follow button. So you will follow the Truthwire channel, and it's still part of the Combo Couch account, but the Truthwire channel is now the channel for the content on Rumble. So definitely do that. If you're on YouTube, go to Rumble and follow the channel over on Rumble, because when they kick us off of YouTube, that's where you're going to have to watch us. So you might as well do it.
We have individual channels. Fee still has a channel on Rumble. I still have a channel on Rumble. Go follow our locals over there. You can be a locals member without having to put any money up. So please go do that.
I also have an announcement for us to brag. We are currently #1 on Kick in politics.
Oh, suck it, Kit Cabello. New York Peter's pizza is better than Chicago pizza. And wait. You on the button, Kick.
Wait. Kit is still kicking our butt, or Kick is still kicking our butts on Kick. So
we're coming for you, pal. You and your pizza.
Yeah, we're coming for him, but he's not streaming right now. If he was streaming, he'd be crushing us, because he's got a good following on Kick. But we're starting to build one too. We're on Pasta to Go on Kick right now. Probably need to set up a Truthwire channel on Kick as well.
We'll set up.
But
we have a Telegram.
Right now we're broadcasting on Pasta to Go.
Yeah,
and we're #1 in politics for the moment.
We're starting a Telegram. We
have
together.
a Telegram. Yeah. It's just starting, but you should all go follow it. Truthwire at Telegram if you have a Telegram. Telegram's great. You guys should all follow me on Telegram as well. Fiorella in Moscow.
Well, President Jafar, he came around today because you were here. He's not really necessarily when I do my Pasta to Go. Thanks, President Jafar. Natalie Williams, good to see you back, hanging on out. Gabrielle Freedom, there she is, hanging out as well. Thank you so much. We love you, Gabrielle Freedom.
If we stick around a little bit longer, we might be able to catch Kamala. They've got a speaker on stage right now.
They might be forever.
How long is
it? Could be.
Yeah. Well, you know what we can do if you want to just go to a quick break and kind of hang on out and then just put the screen up and let it ride on out, Jayme.
She's supposed to speak at 4, but she's always late to stuff.
Yeah.
So
women.
Putin is 3 hours late to everything, by the way. So I don't feel bad.
Yeah, and the one time you had criticism with Putin was when he was doing the interview with Oliver Stone. And he goes, "Well, I'm not a woman, right?" I was like, "Oh, Putin, take it easy over there. You're trying to win some points over here. You're not going to win any points over there."
He's at least 3 hours late to everything usually.
President Jafar says, "Not true, Pasta. You guys are like family."
Pasta's very sensitive. If you don't compliment him, he'll cry.
DC though, he always is there, right? DC, oh, love you.
Mamala dropped the Bombala. Did you guys see that SNL thing with Kamala? It was so cringe. I felt uncomfortable.
What's that, the Mary Cat?
Watching it. This lady always plays Kamala, by the way. What's her name?
What's up, big dog? How was school? We got news. Donald Trump is going to cancel your school loans. No.
That's definitely not going to happen.
Margaret,
you
thank
need
you
to
for
pay
the
it and pull up by your bootstraps and pay that shit, you know.
Thank you for this super Ray contribution. It is always appreciated on the Truthwire.
Oh God, I thought we were done with that. Now that we've changed the
Well, I just wanted to find a way to aggravate you and stuff like that. But guys, listen, that's it for the show. Jayme, if you want to kind of just put some music on and put maybe a banner saying Kamala's speech coming, and then just put Kamala's speech up there or do something else, you're more than welcome to do that. They can watch it over here. They can watch it on Feast, Twitter, my Twitter, the Pasta to Go YouTube, the what is it? The Truthwire YouTube. I got the name. The Convo. Well, the Truthwire Rockfin now. That's really cool. We're on Kick too as well. So please, if you want to do that, all the links to help us out. We still have that same Patreon, guys. You can go there and help us out. David Crow. My life's like a tube of toothpaste. You got to squeeze it all out to get the very last drop.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I didn't like that. Atos.
What's
I
that?
didn't. The always appreciated thing.
Who didn't? What do you mean? Who's that? Cringe AF?
No, that.
Oh,
I said
I thought he was talking about my thing.
You're also.
Do you have any super chat contribution so I can say it again? No. All right.
No, okay.
Damn.
Jayme, can you just go very quick to the thing and see what they're saying? I
Let's bring it on up. Let's take a look at it.
I want to see what they're saying.
Yeah,
Yes, her
there's
name is
nothing
Maya.
going on right now. There was a guy up there for about a minute. Now he's gone.
Look at the way it's set. Can you make it big over there? And I'm proud to be an American.
No, that's not her song.
Well, at least I know I'm free. But you're gonna be hearing that a lot from Donald Trump.
That's like I've heard that song all my life in Florida.
Yes, it's a Florida song.
It's a Florida
I've heard
song,
people
guys.
do it in karaoke, but Donald Trump just played it out. That and the
In
YMCA.
every football game and every I did. Okay, so while we're waiting for this, I have to tell you all the story, right? I didn't tell you all the story of what happened. So I happened to visit Orlando, and I was in where's this place? Downtown Orlando, and I was actually meeting with my friend who I hadn't seen in a long time on Halloween, and this is Halloween night. This is Thursday, right? And so I'm there with my friend, and my brother is also there, Johnny Tsunami, and he happened. We were trying to find each other, but the internet was like off because there was like 75,000 people there for Halloween that night, which is insane to me. I had no idea it was going to be that big. I haven't posted any pictures of my costume, but I might. It was a whatever costume. And so anyway, so I went there to meet my friend I hadn't seen in a while. We were talking we were walking, and we kept saying there's so many police, there's so many there's so many people here, it smells like marijuana. It was like I hadn't seen all of that in a while. So we were just walking through the lines, and people were waiting in line to get to these bars, and all of these bars were like full of like 4, 5, 6 bars, and there was just a lot of people there. And so we just went to a quiet place and, had a cocktail because, we're not 21. So we were like, okay, we're just going to go have a quiet conversation and sit down and, just be adults. And so we were doing that. And then what ended up happening was we walked outside, and then we went into this other area because there was less of a line. So we went to this bar, and this bar is called Arrow. And it's not even a bar. It's like a whole thing. It's called Arrow, and it's like 6 bars and stuff. And so we were like, okay, let's walk through, because we were like, wow, this used to be this other place that was called something else and whatever. So we were talking about that, and we went upstairs because it's really hot here, especially coming from Russia and feeling like the cold there and getting used to the cold. It was so hot, and it's like, what was it? It's like 12:30 or 12:20 when we started walking up there. So we were just walking, talking, it was just me and my girlfriend, and we were just having a great time. And we were saying how reminiscing about, when we went to school, because we went to UCF, University of Central Florida, and we were talking about that and Europe. And she was asking me about work, and I was talking to her about her work, because she's in marketing, or not marketing, it's something else that I don't understand, like hotel renovations of restaurants and stuff. And so, you know, we were just having this discussion, and then something happened to where I said, really, in that moment, before anything happened, I noticed all the people, and I'm a little bit claustrophobic, because I don't like having all these people around me at all times, because I always think of, oh, what happens if something happens? People like trample on each other. And so I said to her, God, there's so many people here today. If there was at all like some sort of mass shooting, what would happen? Oh my God. And so I said that, and 2 seconds later, something weird happened where people were saying, did you hear that? Did you hear that? And the music was pretty loud. And so a lot of people just kept going about their life, like dancing on the side and just doing their thing. And I just had like this, like, I don't know what it is, instinct, whatever, intuition. And I was like, let's just go, because I don't know what that was. Let's get out of here. And so we were trying to go downstairs. And when we were trying to go downstairs, it became this like bottleneck type of, just people weren't moving, and we didn't know why. Nobody said anything. There was no security, no information. So I saw like an elevator to the on the other side, and I said, and I pressed the button because I'd seen somebody use it. I think it was a server elevator, right? So I go into this elevator and I press the button, and we wait for the elevator, and she's like, oh, are we going to go down this elevator? And I'm like, yeah, because how else are we going to get down? So we go down the elevator. We press the button. We're not supposed to do that, but we did, because I was like, I want to get out of here, because people started like freaking out because they couldn't move. And so we still don't know what's going on, really, because the phones, the internet wasn't working either, because I was trying to find Johnny and the internet wasn't working. So we go downstairs, and suddenly we start going into the hallway to get out and into this to exit. And literally you can't move. People are just pushing each other. I managed to get to this bar area and go behind this bar, and people start shouting. And then suddenly you see a crowd of people running into the restaurant or the bar, and they're just running into the bar. And then I'm like, whoa. And then people start pushing each other. And my friend was like, started at this point freaking out, right? Understandably. And she was just behind me, and I'm just trying to like ask like what's going on, and people are just freaking out. And finally the guy who was working as a bartender comes out, and he's like, there is a there's a shooting, 2 people have been shot. And I'm like, because he was yelling at people not to come into the bar and freak out. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that's what's happening, because he started yelling at people, and people were just yelling at each other. And I wanted to get the information, obviously. And so he started doing that. And finally he told me that. And so I'm like, okay, so we're just staying there. We're not allowed to leave. There's some police officer there blocking things, and people are like crying, freaking out. And then eventually, like, I don't know, like it must have been like 20-30 minutes later, of just like waiting. And like, the thing is, in those moments, really the danger that I was like looking at was not the shooting, because he said something like the police are already out there, they're trying to handle it. It was more so the reaction of people and how people would react in that situation, right? And it's a very psychological thing, because the normal human reaction is to be afraid, to have a flight or flight reaction. And so when I was there, it was kind of like, okay, I was just, try to stay calm. And I was trying to get a hold of my friend, because I'd lost her, because she couldn't get through this crowd. And so you have to, like, you can't freak out, because that's why people get trampled on. And so what ended up happening was, eventually 30 minutes later, they started like telling people to get out. And like, at that point, people were like freaking out, crying, and the cops were like, go, go, go. And people just started like running out. And so I find my friend, and then we go, and she was visibly shaken, obviously, because this is like, a scenario where we have seen, the Pulse thing happen in Orlando. We have seen mass shootings happen in the US. And initially it wasn't a mass shooting, because it looked like it was directed at specific individuals. But then it Pasta just showed me a stupid meme. And so then what ended up happening was it actually turned out that this person shot about several individuals that were injured. And so then we didn't know that. So the police just told us to get a move out. And anyway, I eventually met up with Johnny, my brother, and Johnny had actually literally just gone outside of this place that I was in when that shooting happened. And so he saw the video of like, he saw the dead body, like Johnny saw it. And we didn't really have the information of what had been happening, but it's kind of crazy because that was just 2 days in that I was just in Orlando. And I was like, holy crap, this in 2 years, you know, in all of this time, especially in all my travels abroad, this has never happened in any other country. But I come to the US and, you know, this happens and this is like a normal thing. And apparently there was a law that was repealed in Orlando because they had these like, metal detector things. Usually when there was that much of a crowd, they would pull them out. And there was a law that got rid of them, which is probably like a Republican thing, right? We don't want this sort of thing, which is understandable too. But everybody, it's Florida, so everybody has a gun. So this guy that shot at people was 17 years old, and he's being tried as an adult because it was execution style at a person, and then another person that was killed right around. A 19 and 21-year-old were killed, and everybody else was injured. One woman was injured by being trampled. Which is like my thing. I was like, I don't want to be trampled by people because people freak out. And so then it was pretty crazy to see that, but more so it was just like the reaction of people. And, you know, it wasn't really on the news that much, only in Florida for the most part, probably due to the low death casualty count, sadly, but you know, that's the way it is. Yeah, and again, like obviously you could go back and say this is a gun problem and all that way. I think it's more of a problem of society, a symptom of our sick society. Why is a 17-year-old have a gun? Yeah, but why is a 17-year-old doing this in front of a bunch of police? I mean, this it doesn't make sense. There's so many police there, so many people. It could have been worse. He could have gone into the bars and could have, you know, so it's crazy. You know, I talk about these situations all the time, but I've never been in that sort of situation by now. It could have been any of us really. And you know, it makes you consider a lot of things, but I do think that, you know, us having been in Portland and having the FBI,
remember that Crow,
and us like, oh my God,
federal marshals, Secret Service
breaking our windows, you know, seeing the destruction in Donbass, seeing these bombs, being afraid of where to step because of the pedal mines, and then seeing what's happening in the West Bank, being afraid of the Israelis, you know, coming after you. That sort of thing, I think, has prepared me to be a little bit different in these scenarios. But you know, and I started thinking about, you know, if this is bad, but imagine what I did think that what other people face every single day.
Popeye Sailor said he was on that stream of the Bernie van. That's pretty awesome.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Thank you, Popeye. Popeye Sailor, we didn't get to mention you. Thank you so much for being a loyal follower, supporter. At least a fee. I don't see you around my streams, but you know, just kidding. I see you all the time. I put a link in the bottom of the doc while we are waiting, but it's just a view. I want to see what Whoopi's. I want to be like Cart. What is it, Cartwright? Let me eat the liberal tears. Are so yummy. The tears are so yummy.
Cartman?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? From South Park?
Yes.
Cartman.
Jilly told me to send her love. She is doing good. Say hi to Pasta and Fee. What is she doing? Where's she at? I love you, Jilly love.
Jilly, we miss you.
We miss you.
She's been around. She's been around.
She's not here right now, is what I was saying.
She's not here right now, but
she's not miss a day.
No.
I need a doctor's note or a note from your parents, Jilly Love, and why you didn't show up today. We have some repercussions we need to talk about, right?
We got a bunch more super chats. And by the way, I want to let the YouTube audience know, if you'd like to leave a super chat, I put the link to Pasta to Go's channel in the chat. And if you click that, you can go to the Pasta to Go channel where we're also broadcasting this, and you can leave a super chat there. Yeah. But the Truthwire channel is demonetized, so just so you know that
we're gonna file for monetization again, though, Jayme, and we're gonna see if it works. We're the only one. Niko House got his monetization back a couple months ago. Graham Elwood got it before that. I don't know what's up with Frank Analysis, if he has his or if you tried to.
He's changed his show completely. He's not doing politics anymore.
Yeah, but I don't know if he got his monetization back.
But
we don't know.
but for now, you can join. You can join the Pasta to Go channel and leave us a super chat over there, and we can put on screen. We have a few, so let me get to those.
Sure. Well, we wait for Kamala.
But is Dane Whittington telling the truth about chemtrails from passenger planes? Looking forward to LOL episode on climate change. I really wanted to get one of those in when I was with Jimmy Dore, right? Like I was inching towards getting Dane Whittington on to talk about chemtrails and stuff. I want to get it out to a bigger audience. Listen, I didn't get a chance to ask Jill Stein that because Jill Stein mentioned throughout the debate the climate crisis, green policies. So I got her to explain a little bit about that, but I really wanted to ask her position on geoengineering, right? Chemtrails was the word they use, kind of like conspiracy theory, to demean or get people to stop talking about that, to put them in a certain box, to make you think they're crazy. So if you use the term geoengineering, but the Council of Foreign Relations, Brennan talked about this. Joe Biden signed an executive order about cloud seeding. It's happening. And at the end of the day, I'm not saying that the military or the government can control the weather like a remote control. What I'm saying is that they have been trying to do so, and you just have to look at Operation Popeye, right? Popeye Sailor, Operation Popeye. They've been doing this for quite some time. They've been putting aluminum and other metals in the air, and we need to know the effects of it. We need transparency so we can look at this. This is something I had an argument about with a Jill Stein supporter about. It was about. I'm not saying that they can control it. I'm saying they're trying to control it, and they've been putting stuff in the air for years. We know this. Now we need to know answers. We need to find out how much does that add to the effect of climate change, right? Is that hurting or helping? What is it really doing? We need to know these things, and they need to be part of the discussion. And the person who told me about that was Steve. And then I went on my way and found Dane Whittington, other people who talk about this stuff, and learned about it myself. It needs to be part of the conversation. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that they perfected it. This last hurricane, though, in North Carolina, fam, it came out of nowhere.
We didn't ask Niko about that.
It came out of nowhere. It just boom, boom, boom. It started up, and the next thing you know, it was rolling, and it got a little bit more energy instead of losing energy and speed, right, when it hit the land.
Yeah.
So a lot of questions. A lot of questions.
Because I know how hurricanes work.
What else we got? Super chats.
We have David Crow.
Yeah, Rumble. Who's Rumble? Is this her Rumble?
Maduro, now Trump is elected. Will Lula
It's the Truthwire one, Rumble.
Yeah.
That's actually a good question. I don't know. So yeah, this whole thing on Lula, I did a whole video on it. You guys should check it out. It's on my X. But he said so not Putin.
You're gonna lose friends if you start criticizing Lula.
Maduro said that Lula and the ministry, the foreign ministry, and the Russian foreign ministry, and the Venezuelan ministry all sat down and were in agreement that this is prior to BRICS, that Brazil wouldn't get a veto. Lula then didn't come. He had an injury, reportedly. And then he sent this minister that was allegedly not even a minister of his party, some sort of, not minister, representative. And then Maduro said this in a, what is it, like a press brief. And then Maduro said this, he didn't understand why this person was there, because they weren't, anybody that should have been there. But then what happened was they did exactly that. They vetoed Venezuela's entry into BRICS, and Nicaragua too. They were the ones that weren't there. So that's part of this whole scenario where I think they either have something on him, on Lula, or there's something else going on. It's the most plausible, logic solution is they have something on Lula. He's backtracking because initially he said yes, and now he's saying no. Is BRICS compromised? And it's not just Brazil. We're talking about India. We're talking about Saudi Arabia. We're talking about countries that try to play both sides with the United States and Russia and the global South. So it's not just about Brazil. I think this is, is BRICS going to continue following the UN sort of charter, which is largely outdated? There's a lot to talk about when it comes to BRICS. I don't view BRICS as the rose-colored glasses that some people view it for clicks and likes or whatever. I see multipolarity has a chance. It's already emerging, but it's not going to happen until you resolve the issue in the Middle East, because that will affect everything. Are we actually going to try to do something different, or are we going to recreate the same type of, UN or G7 that exists? And if we're just going to do that, then it's just going to be different players, different stages, but the same thing. So I think that there's a lot more to be done. I think there's a great opportunity with BRICS and multipolarity, but there has to be a resolution. You can't have a new world about, cooperation and sovereignty and all of that with what's happening in the Middle East. And most people who are Russophiles and who say all these things won't tell you that, but I will tell you that, because that's just looking at things with a very clear mind, and not just putting on rose-colored glasses and just saying the word multipolarity every 5 seconds because it's popular now to say.
Listen, I don't think you should be making fun of Ben Norton. He's not here to defend himself. What's the next super chat?
Stop it.
The Willie Bragg Show, the dirtbag leftist. Remember, Willie Bragg, I'm one of the dirtbag leftist all-stars because I dared to take a Antifa member. No, it was not. It was a Black Lives Matter member and a Proud Boy in the streets and say, you guys have more in common than you have different. And because of that, I was ridiculed and considered one of the dirtbag leftists.
You're red, brown,
Can you
white.
believe that? The red, brown. I tried to literally get people to come together and say, stop fighting yourself. We need to come together and fight the ruling class.
Listen.
And I was called a dirtbag leftist
Listen,
all-star.
I went to Stalin's dacha. Okay,
No.
nothing makes me more red than that. Okay.
The Democrats will blame Palestinians, Putin, 2016, 2020 Bernie Bros, and Jill Stein
Of
for
course,
Trump's
they already
victory in spite of Joe Biden's governing, as if it's the 11th term of the Reagan presidency.
They're already crying
Yeah.
on social media saying, F you if you voted for Jill Stein. This is your fault. They're already doing that.
Uneducated white men. You're the problem in this country. We got to
Well,
do something
clearly,
about you.
I mean,
Yep.
Jesus.
It's me.
It is you.
Yep. David Crow. Hail, Fee. Glad to see you're safe, Fee. You must have spidey senses. And when I said hail, Fee, I replaced Fee with something else. 'Cause, you know what David Crow would say, but I'm not going to do it. He would troll people. He would troll. David Crow hates theocrats. He hates them. And he has a point over here, because that's the truth of the matter is that the problem with a lot of Trump's base, and we don't talk about this enough, they're theocrats, right? And you can never rule theocratically because it will always turn into my God is better than your God. And that there's wars and genocide. That's what happens when you try to govern with religion. So you can't do it. It needs to go away. Thank you, David Crow. Hail, David Crow.
Yeah, and even if other countries or states do it, right? It's not our right to impose. They will figure it out themselves. Hint, hint, Iran. Like, if you don't agree with that, that's up to them, bro. It's up to them. It's not up to us.
Clean your own house first.
Care about women's rights or whatever. Like, we don't care. The United States doesn't care about women's rights in Iran. The other day, they tried to promote this girl who got naked in the streets of, I believe it was Iran. And they said, look, like, is this what you want? Oh, look at this woman. She's supporting freedom because she took off her clothes. Taking off your clothes as a woman does not mean you're supporting freedom. I'm sorry. I know a lot of liberals believe that. It gives you some sort of like freedom. It doesn't. Okay. It doesn't. You're just literally taking off your clothes. That's what you're doing.
Well, I let them know when they're in front of me, if they want to express their freedom, go right ahead. I'm all for it. Take off your clothes.
The point of this whole thing was that this young lady was literally having a nervous breakdown related to school, and it had nothing to do with any protest against.
She was mentally ill, right? She had a mental.
Yeah,
and then they try to twist that.
They always do this all the time.
Andrew Tate last week shared a tweet that somebody said, "Hey, I'm here on vacation, and I figured since you don't need ID to vote, I would just vote anyways," acting like he was a foreigner who voted. And it was a Trump supporter who was actually just making a joke. And Andrew retweeted it. Andrew Tate.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Twait. Andrew tweeting Twait. Andrew Twait retweeted it. Andrew Tate retweeted it as if it was truth. And he goes, this has become a circus. I'm like, it's always been a circus, homeboy.
Yeah, no, you can't. There's a lot of that on Twitter. People like falling for deep fakes and stuff.
Natalie Williams. By the way, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You were saying.
No, I was just saying people have to be careful with the deep fakes.
I've gotten. I've done it before myself. Buckley versus Vallejo and Citizen United still promoting the oligarchy's welfare since 1976. House always wins. You know, the house does always win, Natalie. I used to say Vegas wasn't built on winners. Same mentality right here. Hey, what's up, man? Thank you guys so much. We're sorry for like throwing such a rock into the living situation over here, but we thank you for letting us broadcast here.
You're doing a show with the post-Wobbly fam sometime every end. We did that yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yesterday we did it. Where's the stream on Rumble? Because you took it down, right?
Did we take the stream down off YouTube
Probably,
yesterday?
Yeah.
No, it's still up.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, leave it up.
You guys
You
can
can watch it there. You
leave
can
it-
watch it. I made it
do work
free
with
on
these guys all
Rockfin.
the
Anybody
time.
can watch it on Rockfin, and it's on Rumble.
That's awesome. Thank you, Jayme.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. Listen, RBN, Nick Cruz was on the show. I reached out to Sabby. She had a loaded schedule. She couldn't come on. JB Font was on. I mean, I'm so sorry. I'm going to pat myself on the back. You want to talk about diversity, right? Inclusion. This show, I mean, we had Monica Perez on, a truther with JB Font. Together at the same time.
Shout out to JB Font.
Yes.
I love that guy. I love that guy.
If you want to watch like 6 hours that will fly by, the first 6 hours of that 12-hour stream is
Flew by.
packed. It is packed with just people coming on, talking, giving their thoughts, giving their perspective on the election. I think even Pasta made a bet about Nevada, and he lost $10. Although
It's not over yet.
it's not over yet,
They
but
didn't call
it's
it.
looking bad for you. You're gonna
No, it's
probably
not.
lose.
It's getting closer. Shut up.
You're probably gonna lose.
Now I'm going to lose because they don't care. But Arizona's going to go red.
That's true.
Blue. Arizona's going to go blue. It's going to flip blue. And maybe not the top of the ticket, but it's the Senate is going to the Democrat. And that's got to be, listen, you should be shaking your head that happened, right? If the states have control of their election, which is engraved in the Constitution, right? Enshrined in the Constitution that the states have the right to run their own national elections, then you got to go state by state and see what the problem is, county by county and see what the problem is. There are problems in Maricopa County. There are problems in Clark County, which is in Nevada. And with Nevada, the way it's set up, especially in Clark County, they have these dirty voter rolls. I know somebody who does, she does the data over there, and she's like, every single time you pull up these rolls, they haven't been cleaned. And they need to be cleaned because in Vegas, you got people who leave all the time, come in there, people who die. You know what I'm saying? It's a serious situation. But if you can swing an election, right, because the way you have it set up, not simply who votes, but how you vote, we got to reform that. We got to crush that. We got to change that. So that's something we have to consider in the future moving forward. And I hope that doesn't die because they're going to try, fam. They're going to try to say the issue with our elections is illegal immigrants are voting. That's what they're going to say. Guarantee it. Carrie Lake is going to make that assessment. Just you watch. And I called this. I said that Donald Trump's going to win the top of the ticket, but you'll have a couple senators out there that are really famous that are considered Trump senators. They will lose, and they'll use the excuse of illegal immigrants. In Arizona, perfect spot for that, fam.
But you can't
Right
say
on the
that
border.
and then not question Trump's win. You know
Well,
what I mean?
we'll
You
see.
can't pick and choose.
Yeah.
But to go off of that, definitely, if you missed the stream last night, watch like the first 4 to 6 hours. It will go by so fast, and the just all the people coming in, giving their thoughts, and you're getting to see people who normally don't interact with each other interacting with each other. It was actually astonishing how fast it went by with all those people coming in, and we did. I'm really proud of the work we did last night, especially in those first 4 to 6 hours. And that was a lot of that was you just booking everybody and telling them all to show up at the same time.
Yeah, we have Sasha Nezev from Serbia who did a report, and we had Keaton come in. Chuck Modi never made it, but we love Chuck. Hopefully he'll come on back.
Yeah, I was going to invite him anyway.
Alex Strenger was there, Don DeBar, Jose Vega, JB Font, Monica Perez, Shelby Hassana coming in was awesome. Manila Chan, who I did her show this morning, she was there. Middle MAGA, remember him, Wayne McCarrison? He was not supporting Donald Trump. He is Make America Great Again, but he's against Trump because of his Zionist beliefs. This guy started watching us and Niko House years ago. He's a fan of Nick Fuentes, though. He really does, and he's really mad at Gray Zone for going after Nick Fuentes. But it's kind of crazy when Nick Fuentes is further left than Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying?
Nick Fuentes is a grifter.
He might be an op. He might be whatever. Listen, I wouldn't disagree with that, but Nick Fuentes has better things to say than people like Jack Posobiec and all these other Benny Johnson and all these Ian Miles Chong. You know what I'm saying? I don't like Nick Fuentes, but at least he has a lot better things to say than a lot of other people out there in his same field, you know? And listen, he's got the balls, him and Stu Peters, to talk out against what's going on. He told people not to vote for Donald Trump because Donald Trump is owned by Israel. That was his final message, Nick
But
Fuentes.
you also have to look into that some of these people like Jake Shields and all these people are actual like anti-Jews, like they are like
Anti-Semites?
They're hopping onto that because they are. And if you look at their past beliefs, it's kind of like, you know, you have to be careful with that because it'll disempower the anti
you know
genocide
what?
movement too.
Stu Peters gets a lot of flack for
Have
that.
you seen what he has said though?
He has, right?
Yeah.
But obviously he's listened to it and changed his rhetoric a little bit more and made it a point to go, I'm not anti-Semitic, I'm anti-Zionist. I don't necessarily buy that, but he has at least listened to the people. And
I mean, right now the whole thing is like what's happening in Palestine is wrong. And a lot of people, though, I will say this right now, a lot of people, podcasters, grifters, Twitter people, like influencers have made a lot of money off of talking about Palestine when they never talked about Palestine before. They never cared about the Middle East or West Asia. Suddenly they talk about it and they make a lot of money. And now people just assume that you know, that's it. No, they're making money. Like if they weren't making money, I guarantee you that their allegiance would be elsewhere. And if there wasn't a certain hatred to a degree, I think their allegiance would be.
And by the way, Keith McHenry, here she comes. We'll get there.
We have a Tim Wall sighting.
Oh, okay. Keith McHenry was on with Steve Poikonen. That was awesome. Tom Luongo jumped on in. Clint Russell. I mean, it was a fascinating show yesterday. Nick Cruz, Jay Scott, Shanda Master, Amber King. It was just a loaded show. We were just peeling through it for the first 6 hours. It was like ba 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 ba. So go check it out. Great discussions. People of different ideologies, different parties, different ideas, and we just brought it to the table. We do that. We do that all the time. You know what I'm saying? And I can, and you can see, right, Jayme, I can criticize these people without being too much of a dick.
No, I don't think you were a dick at all. It was, I mean, there were a few moments there that were a little tense, but I mean, it was constructive criticism, and is being said through the face. Okay, Kamala's coming on stage right now. We do have a couple more things. Let's go to the show.
Let's get it. Let's go to Kamala. Yeah, we'll get to it after. Let's go full screen on Kamala. Kamala.
Mamala.
All right, let's take it down. Let's get volume in there, Jayme. Take the banner down, so it's good.
Good afternoon.
Take her seriously.
Good.
She just did the Trump.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Mamala.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So let me say, and I love you back. And I love you back. So let me say, my heart is full today. My heart is full today, full of gratitude for the trust you have placed in me, full of love for our country, and full of resolve. The outcome of this election is not what we wanted,
This is so
not
predictable.
what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright.
Why are people clapping for that?
As long as we never give up, and as long as we keep fighting. To my beloved Doug and our family, I love you so very much.
Yes, it's word salad.
To President Biden and Dr. Biden, thank you for your faith and support. To Governor Walz and the Walz family, I know your service to our nation will continue. And to my extraordinary team, to the volunteers who gave so much of themselves, to the poll workers and the local election officials, I thank you. I thank you all. Look, I am so proud of the race we ran. And the way we ran it. And the way we ran it. Over the 107 days of this campaign, we have been intentional about building community and building coalitions, bringing people together from every walk of life.
Did you get that from Bernie Sanders?
United
people
by
together.
love of country with enthusiasm and joy in our fight for America's future.
Enjoy.
And we did it with the knowledge that we all have so much more in common than what separates us. Now, I know folks are feeling and experiencing a range of emotions right now. I get it. But we must accept the results of this election. Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition, and that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power.
High road.
A fundamental principle of American democracy is that when we lose an election, we accept the results. That principle, as much as any other, distinguishes democracy from monarchy or tyranny. And anyone who seeks the public trust must honor it. At the same time, in our nation, we owe loyalty not to a president or a party, but to the Constitution of the United States. And loyalty to our conscience and to our God. My allegiance to all three is why I am here to say, while I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign. The fight for freedom, for opportunity, for fairness, and the dignity of all people. A fight for the ideals at the heart of our nation, the ideals that reflect America at our best. That is a fight I will never give up. I will never give up the fight for a future where Americans can pursue their dreams, ambitions, and aspirations, where the women of America have the freedom to make decisions about their own body and not have their government telling them what to do. We will never give up the fight to protect our schools and our streets from gun violence. And America, we will never give up the fight for our democracy, for the rule of law, for equal justice, and for the sacred idea that every one of us, no matter who we are or where we start out, has certain fundamental rights and freedoms that must be respected and upheld. And we will continue to wage this fight in the voting booth, in the courts, and in the public square. And we will also wage it in quieter ways. How we live our lives, by treating one another with kindness and respect, by looking in the face of a stranger and seeing a neighbor, by always using our strength to lift people up, to fight for the dignity that all people deserve.
How many times is she going to say
The fight for our freedom will take hard work, but like I always say, we like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work can be joyful work. And the fight for our country is always worth it. It is always worth it. To the young people who are watching, it is, I love you. To the young people who are watching, it is okay to feel sad and disappointed, but please know it's going to be okay. On the campaign, I would often say, when we fight, we win. But here's the thing. Sometimes the fight takes a while. That doesn't mean we won't win. That doesn't mean we won't win. The important thing is don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. Don't ever stop trying to make the world a better place. You have power. You have power. And don't you
You don't have power, guys. Sorry.
anyone tells you something is impossible because it has never been done before. You have the capacity to do extraordinary good in the world. And so to everyone who is watching, do not despair. This is not a time to throw up our hands. This is a time to roll up our sleeves. This is a time to organize, to mobilize, and to stay engaged for the sake of freedom and justice and the future that we all know we can build together. Look, many of you know I started out as a prosecutor, and throughout my career, I saw people at some of the worst times in their lives. People who had suffered great harm and great pain, and yet found within themselves the strength and the courage and the resolve to take the stand, to take a stand, to fight for justice, to fight for themselves, to fight for others. So let their courage be our inspiration. Let their determination be our charge. And I'll close with this. There's an adage an historian once called a law of history, true of every society across the ages. The adage is, only when it is dark enough can you see the stars.
Oh my God, I cannot believe she said that.
I know many people feel like we are entering a dark time.
It's like
But for
what's
the
the word?
benefit of us all,
the most,
I hope that is not the case.
What?
not cringy.
But here's
What's
the thing,
another word?
America, if it is,
Horny?
let
Corny.
us fill the sky
Corny as
with the
sig.
light of a brilliant
This is
billion
how
of
she is. It's a bunch of
stars.
cornball.
The light of optimism, of faith,
People are asking
of
us to stop
truth.
listening to.
and service.
Sorry, guys.
HU.
What? What did you
And may that work guide us, even in the face of setbacks, toward the extraordinary promise of the United States of America. I thank you all. May God bless you. And may
God bless the United States of America.
God bless America. America. All right.
All
Bye,
not
Mama
right.
Law. Okay. Oh, okay. We can go back on the. Okay, so we waited all this time for that.
Excuse me 1 second.
You almost feel bad for her because she's, everybody. I mean, anybody with a brain cell knows she's full of,
shite.
These people are sociopaths. She freaking thinks that she's actually she thinks she probably gave the best speech of her life there, for crying out loud. And what did she say? Nothing but platitudes, nothing but platitudes, nothing but platitudes. But
people eat that up.
They do.
They do.
They really do. Listen, just
that crowd ate it up.
They did. Well,
they loved it.
That's a pro Kamala crowd. I was seeing some people's posts. The Facebook was just a heartbroken.
Kim Shori Kate.
Kim Shori Kate.
Only when it is dark enough can you see whatever.
Put Americans in the dark and let them look at the stars. That's all they can afford anymore.
That's all you can afford. You can't afford anything else.
So really, to tell you the truth, the beginning part was the most important, I think, when she validated the election system and the change of power. That's what they want. The system is really messed up. But once again,
we said that yesterday and today.
We asked Kelly Lane yesterday, who was an election integrity activist, what happens when Donald Trump wins the election? What does that mean for election integrity? People go to sleep. Now they're going to forget. Now they're going to push. People are more concerned with the results than the actual process itself. Now, this will, in its wake, this will leave people behind that are still interested in fixing elections. One of those guys, who is a MAGA guy, Mark Fincham, he's there. He's ready. He's going to be pushing to fix elections, regardless of what happened. And he'll probably say, even though they overwhelmed the system this time, it might not work next time. We need to make this fair and transparent. And we're going to need people like that. After Donald Trump lost in 2020, and a lot of election integrity activists were there and they supported the Democrats, we knew who was a real election integrity activist and who was not. Election integrity is a nonpartisan issue, right? It's got nothing to do with your party. It's got everything to do with integrity, a system that actually represents a democracy. And if it's not sound, then your democracy is not sound. You don't have a democracy. You have a plutocracy.
And well, I think it's important everybody pays attention to what she said about the elections, because this is why I still believe that they allowed Trump to win, because she made the point to say, I am going to concede this election and I'm going to respect democracy and the Constitution, something that they said Trump didn't do in 2020, when he claimed, and many people claimed with their evidence, that the election was not fair. And so when that was said, that was completely ridiculed and talked about it in a conspiratorial way. Now that Trump has won, and she's saying that, it's a signal not just to her people, it's a signal to anybody, not just Trump supporters, anybody that's questioning the elections from here forward.
They're so delicious.
People are literally crying. I know.
Oh, they're so tasty.
We were talking about that. Cartwright.
K-Hive tears are the best. They're like salty and sweet at the same time.
Get over yourself, you friggin' idiots.
They're so, I can't believe they're
you are
crying
cringe.
Over this person. They are. This is the height of privilege. This is what I'm talking about. Like, how do you cry about this stuff? Like, how do you? Imagine experiencing a fraction of what people that our moms go to experience, and you're crying about this woman losing. Like, she lost. She's a terrible candidate. But I just can't. I can't with these people. Really.
Let's see. There's some more. I missed. There was like Nancy Pelosi giving out hugs.
We don't need to hear.
There
were other celebrities in the crowd.
Did like her hand fall off like the Crypt Keeper because she was
Reaper.
No, the Crypt Keeper.
Crypt Keeper
From Tales of the Crypt.
The Crypt Keeper. Okay.
She's not the Grim Reaper. She's the Crypt Keeper. And he just put Jayme, if you want to pull up a picture of the Crypt Keeper to show fam and everybody else out there how
Let me see if I can find the Crypt Keeper.
Put Nancy Pelosi Crypt Keeper, and I guarantee you'll find a meme. Guarantee it right now, guys.
I think the Crypt Keeper is actually more interesting than Pelosi, because I used to watch him.
The Crypt Keeper?
Is it? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I think the Crypt Keeper is non-binary at this point.
Stop it.
The Crypt Keeper supported the Democratic Party because it was in Hollywood.
Really?
That's Dianne Feinstein.
I found the Crypt Keeper.
That's Dianne Feinstein.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Term limits.
Term limits. Fair elections. I'm not a term limit guy. I changed my mind after Daniel Ortega.
But for judges and for certain senators, I am. Not for the president.
I just think if we have a vessel to hire people properly and fire people properly, it will work itself out.
Maybe.
And if somebody's doing a great job and he's liked by the people, then we allow that person to sit. But if that person's bad, we get rid of them. But we don't have the vessel to do that, to hold people accountable. They tell us who that we're going to get, and we either accept it or we accept it.
Yeah.
We go ahead. I see you smiling. Look at Jamie's little smirk. He loves doing these things. Show it.
I love memes. I'm a meme guy, man.
Yeah, I know
I make memes. I share.
I know
memes.
what you mean. Show it.
You know what I mean. Yeah, that's
I know
the
what you
Crypt
mean.
Keeper.
Is that supposed
That's
to
the
be
Crypt
Pelosi?
Keeper. That is Nancy
Not-
Pelosi.
yes,
There's
it's
Nancy
the
Pelosi.
Keeper, Nancy Pelosi. This is also the Crypt Keeper.
The Crypt Keeper. That's it.
Tales from the
The
Crypt. That was a
Crypt.
good show, guys.
It was
If you
funny.
haven't seen the show,
Yeah.
watch it. It was a little scary. You
Yeah.
know, if you didn't get your Halloween fix in, I know my Halloween fix is never in. I need to watch all the zombie movies I possibly can all the time.
Okay, that's it. We've
That's
had
it.
enough. With 3 hours and 15 minutes, we are done. Any more super chats out there?
I think we missed some or one.
Oh wait, there was
Oh,
one
one.
more.
I think there was this one from Kamishari Kate.
Yeah, we saw that one. Okay.
Yeah, we saw it, but we
Yeah,
didn't really
saw
Nice
focus
to
on
see
it.
you, Kate. Nice to see you.
Cam Schwari, old school coming out today. Fam, you bring out the old school people. Well, now I know what it's like, ladies and gentlemen. I got it now. Now I see how it is. When fam's here, then you know what I'm saying, then you come running. I get it.
Yeah, it's because we're
Ow!
together.
Oh, sorry.
We're together.
Cackles like Kamala, though. Yeah.
So how long do you think it's going to be before the establishment drops Kamala like dead weight? About a
They
week.
just did
2 weeks?
when she walked off stage.
No, but there's
They
going to
done
be
with
some grace period where they're going to be like, "Oh,
Well,
she did a good job," blah 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 blah,
Lame duck now, right? So
and then it'll be yesterday's news. Nobody's talking about her. Her career's over. She's going to be Dan Quayle, Michael Dukakis.
in 2 weeks, it's Thanksgiving, and
Yeah.
after that, the rest of December is basically Christmas. So
Yeah, I mean, are people going to remember that Joe Biden's still the president?
They've already
No.
forgot.
I know, but I mean, now that this is over, we're gonna. Oh yeah, Trump's
right.
not the president yet.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas on the Truthwire.
Okay, we
All
gotta
the
go.
links down below to donate to the show are there. Hair bears, we
That was beautiful.
love you. Peace out.
Very
Fam, can I get a hug because we don't know when we're gonna do a show again together in person? Give me a hug. Fam, I love working with you. I always have. We started this
Oh my
years
God,
ago.
stop
It's
it.
so great to get.
You know what?
Who knows when we're going to be together in the same room doing a show again, but this is always fun. This is how we started, and we started from the bottom. Now we're here.
While we're spreading
Why
love,
did
I want
you
to say
post
thank you
that?
guys.
Seriously?
Look, man,
Hey.
we have to stay focused here. Wait a second, Jayme. We got to stay focused, right?
Well, I
We need
wanna
to
say
stay in the
thank
zone. Don't go chasing waterfalls, all right?
You're
Oh,
you're almost
say
as
what you're
creepy
gonna
as
say.
Kamala.
Say what you're gonna say.
No, I was going to say, when you come in this thing, you go quietly. You creep. Creep.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
We're
I
done,
just wanna
Jamie.
say-
Say
I
goodbye
wanna
to
say,
everybody so we
Thank
can
you,
finish
thank
this
you
up.
for letting me work with you guys. Like this has been great. It's almost
It's not work because work means you got to get paid.
well, yeah, but it's still work. It's
Thanks
still
for
work.
donating
Look,
your time to the Truthwire and stuff. Listen,
this is what needs to happen. I mean, we've got to reach more people. We've
Yeah.
got to get the word out. That's my big takeaway from the election last night was how little of an impact the third parties had.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not even 1.5% combined for everybody who didn't vote for the two parties, which means we're not reaching the people like we need to be.
Yeah.
And we've got to do that to make a change. But I mean, I really appreciate the opportunity working with you guys. We're doing our part of what we can to reach out and wake people up to say, hey, the two-party system is the problem. You got to stop voting for it. You got to break out of it. But we've got a lot of work ahead of us. That's what I saw last night. And
we got screwed over by RFK. Okay.
a little bit, but we
got
also get screwed over by YouTube.
Because despite me not supporting him after October 7th because of his uber Zionist views, he was still looked upon as the third party candidate. Now, if he ran, Donald Trump probably wouldn't have held the seat if
And
this was
that
a fair
his
election.
purpose all
Long.
along.
So, I mean, and the
Maybe.
fact is, the number one thing what we needed to come out of this, and this is why I was so hard on the libertarians, is to promote the third party. That's it. We got to break the two-party duopoly.
Right?
We went backwards yesterday. We went backwards
It
yesterday.
was. That's what I was upset about, was how little of an impact. I mean, Jill Stein was making a lot of noise. It didn't reflect in the polls.
No,
Granted, she was getting screwed over in Ohio because they were telling people not to vote for her at the
because the
polling booth.
internet isn't reality, and people need to
Yeah.
understand that.
Okay.
And
You
anyway.
told me from day one about the Libertarian Party. So did Steve. Fam told me about friggin' RFK. So did Misty. I get it. I want to hear it, right? You know, but I did tell you guys about Lula. I did.
Yes,
say
you
that.
did. And
None
Malay.
of us said Lula was a revolutionary. None of us said that. Literally.
I think I
No.
was. I think I was more a little bit on spot on about Lula. Hey, that's it today. The masses love the theater, not kabuki theater, but the theater. So
all right, guys,
far.
we gotta go. It's been lovely. We'll see you next week
On the Truthwire. Truth out. No?
Peace.
We don't have a closing video, so we'll just say goodbye and play a little bit of music.
Bye.
That's it. We love you. All the links are down below. Help us out. We love you, Gabrielle. We love you, DC. We love you, Anna. We love you, Natalie. We love you, Popeye. So many great people here today. It's not who vote that counts. It's who counts.
Miguel H. Miguel H. been holding it down as a moderator. Thanks to you. You do a lot of good work for not only for our show, but other shows as well. Thank you for that.
Show the hug. Show the hug, fam. They want the hug.
No. I'm done with hugs for the day.
What do you mean?
I'm done with hugs for the day.
Everybody loves the way I just drive you crazy and stuff. She
Yeah.
hates hugs and stuff.
No.
Dude, like the last time I saw her when she was giving me a hug, I was like, who the hell are you? You like, you're not like, I'm like, are you Fee? I'm like, why did you give me a hug? I have to go to you for a hug and you're rejected all the time. But she's happy. So I'm happy. I hope you're happy.
Okay, bye,
Happy
guys.
out. Bye.
Bye.
Jesus Christ.